Because not to do that, but it's fine. How do I end that?
You're right here.
Right here.
Yes.
Right there.
You go back against the window and then it's.
No mayor tonight. She's.
Right. Good evening. I'll call this meeting to order. I guess we should do a roll call.
Council President Suzanne Salder,
Here.
Councilperson Brian Madaway.
Here.
Councilperson Norman Zubaka.
Here.
Councilperson Andrew Zelt,
Here.
Councilperson Joseph Gay.
Here.
Also, James Wisman, City Treasurer,
Mike Hoffman.
Mike Hoffman, City Solicitor, Antonina Tantillo, City Administrator, Courtney Taylor, Finance.
Thank you. So the first item on the agenda is the budget overview, and I'll turn this over to Ms. Tantillo for that part.
Thank you. So I have in front of you a presentation. It's also presented on the screen. So I'll go through that first. I will give us an overview of the budget, and then I will get into the actual budget and all of the details of that. If you have any questions along the way, just feel free to stop me, and we'll move forward. You can progress to the next slide, please. So a big note for this year's budget is that we still have a lot more items to add because we are in the middle of AFSCME negotiations. So those numbers are obviously not included. They are to be added. We are working through that and they will be added at that time. We also have to add the information for the vehicle leases. We're awaiting a few numbers, so we haven't added those in. So those are big ticket items, of course, that will need to be added. With that being said, the overall budget thus far is $6,589,152 plus whatever additional expenses. And then the proposed revenue thus far without property taxes is $3,122,485. You can go to the next slide, please. So I just wanted to provide a overview of where we stand with the meeting information from the March meeting, from the treasurer's report, and an overview of the unrestricted funds. So we had a total of $6,768,035.64 in unrestricted funds. Then we had the $1,125,000 to be moved to the capital fund. And we had $2,844,224.92 remaining in the FY26 budget. And then from the funds that we saved a few years ago when we expended the ARPA expenses instead of budget funds, we have $1,370,629 remaining from that savings. So that leaves us with $1,428,161 in unrestricted actual funds to use going forward. You can please advance. So as I stated, we have the revenues as proposed of $3,122,485 in revenues besides taxes. As a comparison, last year we had $2,952,881 in other revenues. And I will go into more detail into what that is, but if we go to the next slide with the chart, it lists everything. One more. It lists all of the other revenues, which include licenses, special trash pickup, special events, things like that. But I'll go into more detail as we move along. As far as expenses, last year's expenses overall were $7,598,646, and this year's expected expenses without the salaries related to AFSCME and without the vehicle leases is $6,589,152. We see a lot of changes in the building maintenance for this year, along with the contribution requests, which we can discuss further as the meeting progresses. We see some changes in public safety and public services, and then we see some decreases in expenses in public works, parks and public property, and a little bit of a decrease in the insurance. And then if we go to the next slide, we'll see a revenue comparison, which shows the broad, two more. The broad, departments and then the expense comparison.
And this is excluding what you mentioned earlier.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, so of course, once we have all that information, which I hope to have by the next budget meeting, I could have more comparisons and more insight into everything. And I'll present that at that time, but we're just, waiting for that to move forward and then, I'll share that information.
Can I ask about public safety right now? Well, it's, you know, wait later. We hired two cadets, right, recently?
We did.
Are there in this 3.335
Mhm.
number already converted to deputies' salaries or
No.
like the lowest salary? Or like what are they coded as in this
So
number?
they are currently in, the, what? Thank you, the academy. So we accounted for them to complete the academy and then to move up to the first rank.
So but that would still be the case for entirety of next fiscal year.
Yes.
Just check.
So you, so many months, 3 months or whatever academy is at the lower salary and then the remainder of the year.
I think it's only 1 month, by the time 2 months, by the time the fiscal year starts.
Oh, that's right, because part of it's this fiscal year. So in other words, then however many months they're at, their salary for post-academy is accounted for in this
Correct.
project.
Yes, any promotions, any changes in salary are all accounted for what we know thus far.
So the ones that we know they're gonna happen.
Right.
Okay.
Those officers who were hired to replace a lieutenant and another officer who left. So those spots were filled, and then we have, we still have that one remaining spot, so we have in the budget, another officer to go through the academy.
What's our total?
It will be
With the one from, you just mentioned from academy?
Correct.
So 17, right?
New one.
currently 17, it will be.
So it's still short one, right?
No, the number that you see in your budget includes everyone.
No, but I thought in the past we had it up to 19.
I thought at one point we added a 19th too that was supposed to
Okay.
be controllers, for
The 19?
traffic stuff.
Maybe, okay, well
I
then.
thought we discussed,
Something's wrong with
but
that.
I don't know that we ever
Yeah,
hired,
I don't.
because then something happened and we had to,
I could be wrong.
Yeah.
yeah, I know we discussed it, I remember that, Joe.
Well, Courtney will look through and we'll confirm that, but I would like to go through the budget, in its entirety, and then I'll move on to the last slide. of
I
the-
had, last budget year, I had 18 officers, but that also included, it's 18 total for the department, that includes the chief of police and the 2 captains.
Yeah.
And then the remaining guys, we only budgeted for 1 new hire, last fiscal year.
Mhm.
Well, this current, whatever, I'm sorry.
But then we have the changes, so that's why.
Yeah.
All right, so if we can start in public safety, we just went over the items for salary.
But right, I guess we're gonna come back to this thing.
Yeah, we'll move on.
Could you go back to, unless you're showing,
It's fine. There's a typo, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, everyone ready to go over the details? Okay, so we just discussed the salaries for public services, public safety. We again eliminated shift differential for the past few years, so we don't have anything there. Go to the next page, we have professional development. We'll see a slight increase there. This current year is funded at 5,000. And we're gonna budget for 8,500 to account for additional, professional development opportunities along with.
This includes the academy, right?
We have books, publications, dues and tolls, which remains the same. Computer remains the same. Maintenance contract went up slightly, just by $1,000, to account for just updates to the contracts. Office supplies, again, just went up slightly to account for the economy.
Quick question on, professional development.
Yeah.
5,000 was the budgeted, we're at about 3,800 right now, is that right? Do you think, in terms of the academy, are there like outstanding items, or do you think that's pretty much gonna be a finalized number
No, I think you're still gonna have more items to add there.
for this current year?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm. Postage, we increased slightly, and you'll see that across all departments that we increased postage just to account for all of the increases. Same with phone service. Security cameras citywide, we see a slight increase there to account for some of the new cameras that we have been working on. The body worn cameras are a standard rate that we've had over the past few years due to that contract. There are a few more years on that on those contracts, so that should be expected in future budgets. The administrative expense, we've increased slightly. Uniforms, we've also increased slightly. There are some requirements for some uniform upgrades and changes in terms of like
And the new
name
people
tags
need-
and things like that. Exactly.
And the two new people need a full kit, so it's right.
Medical testing, again, just increase slight expenses. Same for janitorial service, that's based on the contract. Building repairs and maintenance, we have increased that from 5,555 to 10,000. There are a few repairs needed to the building inside and outside that we would like to make in the coming year. If there is anything that we could afford with this year's budget, with the remainder, we will certainly strive to do that.
Is this including the number where you applied for bond bill for the
Yeah, that's
building?
definitely, I'll point that out when we get there.
Like this would be in addition to that number?
Yes. Mhm. Yes. Building heat and electric, we increased that slightly. Special event supplies, we've been able to get grants for the police department to get some event supplies, so we don't have to fund that. SEO pay job overtime, we increased that by 20,000 to a total of 100,000. We've just been having a lot more events throughout the city. And these are, events that we're reimbursed, for, so,
A lot of this is reimbursed.
yes,
All of it.
all of it is. And you see on the revenue side, that SEO line as well.
Okay.
And building heat electric, is it safe to assume that this is gonna be up in every place, just given the recent hikes in supply lines and whatnot, delivery lines?
Yes. Range supplies, again. Just a slight increase to account for costs and to account for the new hire. Motor fuel. We increased that to 60,000 from our 45,000 line, for this year. The reason we did that is because I mentioned at the last council meeting and maybe the mid-year budget review, that we have switched back to traditional vehicles, no longer using the hybrids, as a lot of wear and tear on those vehicles, that are run 24/7. Radio repair, we have, slightly increased that as well. Vehicle parts and repair remains the same at 20,000. The lease copier decreased a little bit, which was very nice. Are there any questions on public safety?
I just think the numbers here for debt service for vehicles and the equipment and vehicles there at zero. I'm guessing they're not gonna be zero. Is there
Yeah,
negotiations we're in the middle of currently?
yeah, we're waiting, on finding those final numbers. I should have an update for you at the next. That's what I mentioned earlier, for all the vehicles that are gonna be coming here, we'll have them at the next event, hopefully, as long as we get the information back. I think, they're kind of on their, with our company, enterprise, I think they're waiting for a new model cost expectations.
Do we do multiple quotes or do we just do them because they're the only ones within our? Are they the
We
only-
use the fleet maintenance program with them, so they help us, with our leases and obtaining those quotes. And, they work with the dealers directly, so they work with us. But they'll work with. Okay, so for public services, again, we are still waiting on contract negotiations, so those numbers are not in there. For professional development and travel, we increased that to 10,840. Last year, we discussed it again at the mid-year budget review that we sent 2 people to the CDL driver class, which was wonderful. So we don't presume that we need to send another person for that class this year. But there's a couple of other classes that we would like to send people to, along with additional training for our building official and our code enforcement officer and the membership for the ICC. And then same for book and reference material. We increased that due to the fact that we adopted the new ICC code, so we need to get the new books and have access to that, along with the
So that's still paper books, or is it a subscription to
It's both.
a?
We'll do both. Yeah,
Do we
because
need the paper?
we should have a copy at the office if the resident.
People want to see,
Mhm.
yeah.
Computer and software expense just increased by 1,000. And that is due to some of the changes that we've been making with our cybersecurity. Office supplies. Doesn't it? Okay, office supplies and printing, we need to revise that line.
This,
Same.
say 4,000. Thank you.
Operating supplies is the same as last year, 8,500. But we do have a line called temporary labor, which is funded at 500 for this current year. We haven't used that line in the past few years, so we're gonna remove the 500 to operating supplies and make that a total of 9,000. Just because we don't traditionally use temporary labor.
Well, I had a question actually about that for
Okay.
this year.
Temporary labor?
Yes, for
Okay. Mm-hmm.
temporary labor. So since you're talking about it now, I see that we used it in 2022. I don't know for what, and we haven't used it since, but with 250 this year, I wasn't sure if we want to keep that line or increase it this year. Like, is there a need for more temp folks as we're
No, we
anticipating
don't.
more folks visiting?
That would be our current budget, not 27.
Oh, you just mean,
Oh, I see. Yeah, okay.
you're talking about separation.
Yeah,
Did
yeah.
did you mean
Never mind.
of the
No,
Okay.
That's what I did. Never mind.
All right, so again, postage we've increased to account for increases there. Phone service, we see a slight increase, and again, changes with our IT, we have some increases there. Reimbursable private property maintenance code, we have left at $2,000. Last year, you do see that we expended $11,050, and that was due to a property where we paid to have a repair done, but the resident is working to reimburse us for that. And you'll see that on the revenue side. Take a look at.
Well, I will say that, you know, the $2,000 always concerns me, and I can see like every other year, it seems like we spend a lot.
Yeah,
But I do think there are some properties in the city that probably have been not in good repair for a long time. So, you know, I was kind of happy that that number was raised up because it means we're like proactively going out and doing stuff as well.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to make that point.
we can, I was on the fence about increasing it or not, because you're right, it is every other year, so it's like, well, will it or will it not happen?
Reimbursable private.
Um,
What do we do to help them out?
so one issue could be there's like a internal plumbing issue and it, you know, would displace the person, and so we'll pay to have the repair done and then send the person the invoice. Because we just have to get it done.
Oh, and that's, I mean, one thing, but I mean, if we have a vacant property and the grass is 3 feet high, we need to go out and cut it. You know what I mean? Or if there's a vacant property and the shrubs and bushes and trees are just all overgrown in everybody else's property, we should probably go out and
We had a
remedy
property-
this situation.
We had a property where it had caught on fire.
Yeah.
And then it became a hazard. It was a whole thing with like insurance and stuff. And then the city couldn't leave it like that. So we had to pay for it to be torn down. And then we built the homeowner.
Yeah, there's gonna be a public hazard or a hazard overall. We're gonna
You know,
have to lay them
you tell
down.
me that's a hoarder and then has a rat infestation.
Right,
There's a lot of times.
right, and then
Unfortunately.
we get a good chunk of it at least back, and
Well, we lean on the property, so
Yeah.
eventually we'll get it all.
eventually.
Yeah.
When it's
Yeah, it's all
sold, and some
protected by
people
lien.
pay it,
Yes, absolutely.
but certainly when it's sold.
I mean, I'm happy to increase it even. to
My point
500.
being is I feel like it gives the code enforcement officer like another tool.
Mhm.
Instead of saying, well, we don't have any money to do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He could say, hey, well, let's at least target the worst property or something.
Yeah.
So, and I'll leave it up to you. I'm just bringing it up as a point where if we don't have the money to fix something, it may not get done.
What do you
So-
think of, I think maybe 7,500, because let's see the pattern of every
Yeah,
3 years.
I mean, I think it's a good start at either 5 or 7,500, but
Yeah.
I
I
do
think
think
that's
that's something every year that we should establish. Because nobody wants to live next to someplace that has trash in the backyard for 6 months.
Yeah.
You just can't tolerate that. After 30 or 60 days, you gotta be done.
Right.
Anyway, that's my
Yeah, I can
my
increase
thoughts on
it.
that.
Anybody else on how much, 5,000 or 7,500?
Well, 5 more than doubles it, so. And since we do get some of it back,
Said add 5 more. Good. Sorry.
or is 2.5 or add 5?
2.5.
So if you
Okay, that's
increase it
5,000.
2.5, that's more than doubling it.
Yeah.
It's
So,
a start.
Okay.
and some of it, like grass cutting, is done by Public Works, right?
Yeah, but we'll go
Yeah,
back to
but we bill
homeowner.
them back because that's our time.
Well, yes, oh, I know it's not cost free, but it's
Yeah.
not like we're laying out money.
Right.
Like we have to, if it's a plumbing issue, for example.
But sometimes there might be an instance where they will have to stay overtime and we will have to
Well, yeah,
essentially.
if overtime's involved, yeah, then that is even more.
Yeah.
Good catch.
So administrative expense and medical testing remain the same. Janitorial services. A slight decrease. Temporary labor we just spoke about. Building repairs and maintenance. We do have an increase here. And that is for one of the items that we put for Spawnville. And that was for heaters. So I'm torn, and there will be a pattern throughout this budget on whether or not we should budget for these items that we requested in bond bill, because we don't know if we're gonna get them. Based on last year's bond bill requests, we only got a small portion of what we requested. And of course, we're grateful for what we received, and it was a great deal of money, but it wasn't.
And the state budget is
Well,
tight
budget.
this year from everything we've heard, so we're probably not gonna get everything we asked for.
Right, so my philosophy is that we should probably include everything that we requested regarding the buildings. And like the building heater, that's a necessary repair, we can't not do it. So if the bond bill is not fulfilled for our request for that, we still need to repair the heater.
So that would rate, or is the heater's not included in the 16.4?
That isn't,
Oh, okay.
Okay, yeah.
so I just wanted to make sure we know.
I know we're talking later about this, but I wonder if it's timely right now, quickly just to run. So tell me if I'm off track. So I think we should have double, because, you know, in case it doesn't go like up in the priorities, but I wonder if those amounts that we're putting in bond bill, we put in capital fund, so it earns more money while we're waiting for these decisions to be made, but I don't know what flexibility needs to be in there. for it
Well,
to
the
be like
bond
earmarked for
decision
this.
will be made by the end of June, right?
Okay, so we should
Yeah.
know this then by,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, that's fine. Never mind.
Yeah, one question on the building repairs and maintenance. Is there any chance that includes painting the trolley barn, the outside of the trolley barn?
Why are you
So-
laughing?
I'm just laughing
They asked for
So we, I owe you all the capital improvements, and things like that will be included, in that. We did get a quote to repair all of the brick on the outside of the building, and later in this, budget and the capital, you'll see that we wanna repair the roof over there, and then down the line, I would like to repair the entirety of the brick, and then probably paint this off.
Okay. I just know when I go by and I look at it, like, it probably isn't the image we want to project.
No, I'm glad that you brought it up because, we definitely need to focus on maintaining our buildings
Yeah.
and making sure that they look nice and are nice to, be in for all of our employees.
And paint isn't just about appearance, it prevents the wood from rotting.
Exactly.
And if the wood rots, then it costs even more to fix.
What health issues do
Okay, preventative termite and pest control, that just went up slightly with the current contract. Building key, electric and lights, again, went up slightly. Fuel and lubricants, we left that at the same amount as this current year. As the next couple weeks progress, we'll have to see if we should maybe reconsider increasing that slightly. The landfill yard waste fees, they remain the same. The costs of the landfill are not expected to increase, so we just left those numbers the same as last year because we're pretty much on track.
So as we add more apartment units and new houses are built, how does it remain the same? I guess I'm just curious. Is it cubic? Like, what's the calculation for this number to stay the same? Like, are we within some sort of price range
So
that,
like Riverbend, they're not included in their current trash collection.
oh, because they
They do
their own.
their own,
I don't know that the battery will.
it was
Like,
be occupied within
Yeah.
this fiscal.
Well, would that
And
change?
I
I'm guessing
don't-
it would
I don't
change
think
these numbers.
we would collect their trash either.
Yeah,
So I
I think
don't
Like
that's
the
all
Garrett,
them.
the Garrison does their own, right?
Right.
The
So I
large
don't think
apartment
it would
complexes
impact
build
this.
their own,
Okay.
do their
But
own.
if there was another, development that was residential and had previously agreed to, increase their trash, then yeah, we would have to increase their
But
trash.
most of the
collection.
stuff right now is.
Yeah.
Like, there's not much growth right now that we can see.
Yeah, just
impacting
the
this.
infill
Okay.
that we're seeing, like in Buttonwood and stuff,
Mhm,
7th Street. Yeah.
mhm, yes, okay. Thanks.
Safety equipment, signs and markings, that budget remains the same. Small tools, we increased by $2,000, to repair a couple of tools and purchase a couple as well. Radios remains the same. Truck vehicle repair and maintenance, we have increased that, significantly. We currently have 55,000 and we're increasing to 90,000. Our trash trucks are continuing to see an increase in necessary repairs. And one of our trucks, I think it's a bucket truck, will have to get recertified. Maybe I'm saying that wrong, but one of our trucks has to get reviewed and inspected again.
So it has
And
to
that's gonna be an
meet a certain standard.
Correct. So we wanted to account for that, but again, long term, we have to start thinking about how we're gonna, in the future, replace and, these big.
Because we have one relatively new trash truck and one kind of older one, right?
Yes, and we have budgeted for this year to purchase a used truck from the city of Newark, and we're waiting to hear if we're going to be able to do that. They are going to use it one last time for student move out at UD, and then hopefully we can buy it. So, but again, that's a used truck, so it comes with its own, issues.
Used trash truck you referred to, right?
Mhm.
So I don't, so I'm looking at the 5 years data that you're providing here from 2022, and it seems like 22 and 23, we had, about over $100,000 spent on the same line. So I'm just curious, is this something we should start discussing in more in depth if it's the same truck having all these heftier repairs?
That was for us, but I think that was the old trash truck.
That's the
Right.
old one that we got sold and bought the new one.
Just making sure, like, if this is all same truck, then we might want to start thinking about buying new one instead of
No, but the,
maintaining the same.
but the one that is older is, of course, getting older and needing more repairs as time goes on. So that's why we want to account for it, to make sure that we can maintain that continuously. And then when we buy this new truck, we'll have that to swap in and out.
New to us.
Yeah,
So this will be we would have one would be basically sitting as a bench truck.
Yeah, we
you will.
would probably rotate the use.
Oh, so they don't like run two trucks simultaneously in different neighborhoods? Yeah.
They do,
I think we would have the third one from.
but if we
from
had the
Newark.
third one, I wouldn't be, I don't know that they would run all three at the same time
Right,
on the same day, but they might, use it on Monday and not use it on Tuesday,
Right,
something
right.
like that.
And you said, oh, sorry,
Just to even out the wear.
and you said the Newark used one, it's already captured in FY 26.
Correct, yes, we kind of were, when we budgeted last year. Special event overtime, we're pretty on track with that one. We don't use, public works as much as we use police for special items. Kit materials, we have, remained at 8,000 each. We'll probably see some more, use of this year's FY 26 budget for that and for the street repairs line right below. Sand and abrasives for snow and ice control and outside contractors for snow and ice control see significant increases in this year. And that is because, as you know, we had our major snowstorms and we had to use a lot of snow and ice. Oh my God. Sand and salt, and we had to use the outside contractor. Luckily, we had municipal street aid to pay for that. But long term, again, back to bond bill, if we don't receive bond bill funding for street repairs as we did not last year, we're gonna have to use that for more street repairs. So we need to make sure that we have enough for both street repairs and snow.
So, I mean, if, why say next year, this time, we've spent 5,000 instead of 20, then we would potentially be able to shift that to another line if we needed it.
Yeah. Yeah, so you can evaluate that at the mid-year budget review.
Well, yeah, but the winter won't be over then.
Exactly.
My only thought there is what I mentioned earlier about that this is 60,000 increase over the two lines, 61. I wonder if we move this in a higher yielding account. But we're not putting it in money market because 60,000 interest on that would be, several thousand until January, December, whenever we need to tap into this money for either one of these two. But that's just,
So, I mean, what
I
kind
don't
of
know,
interest?
I don't know, I haven't done that, I'm just doing it right here,
Yeah.
but
I mean, I know we
it's
get
not
some of it.
insignificant, I
No,
guess,
no.
for 60,000 just to be put aside for because I don't think anybody in the room is arguing that we shouldn't have this. I'm just talking about if this is one of those instances where this is an if, and we could move it somewhere else in the meantime. Like, it doesn't have to be either one of those two funds, but like a third high yielding account we talked about that with you.
That may be something, I mean, the presentations, the finance committee heard four different companies, two of them offered a full range banking services. And they talked about sweep accounts.
Yeah.
And so this decision about that would potentially be tied up with, or potentially could be resolved by which banking service we choose.
Yes,
As
and
opposed to putting them in the tightly defined funds, because then it's harder to get the money out.
Correct.
Yeah, and so that's why I was looking into a third sweep account, because our current budget stabilization and capital improvement funds, those are both sweep accounts with M&T that earn a higher interest rate. So if we opened a third for things like this, that would be fine.
But that's something to talk to with the finance committee, and I mean, M&T was one of the presentations we heard.
Right.
And there are others, and we just need to evaluate what's the best overall for the city.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be fine. Are those numbers okay with everyone? I'm like, what are you thinking about that?
I mean, obviously,
What he did.
you would love that to be 8 and 1,000 like it was in the past, but when the storm comes like it did this year, then.
You don't know, I mean, next year could be no snow,
Exactly.
or it could be another big one.
Right.
There's no way to know,
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely a necessity as a city to
clear the snow.
clear the snow
Yeah.
for, so many reasons. So I mean, we have to have this money put somewhere.
My only
aside,
other
so-
thought would be, we have those special funds in our unrestricted, or in our restricted, they're not in separate bank accounts, but like the special project fund. Maybe we establish a fund for snow and ice removal, so that long term we're saving up for this.
For the big years.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
Something like that.
I think, whatever makes financially best sense. So I don't, we have the finance committee and whatever you guys think
Okay.
would be my opinion.
Okay. Moving down to public works, parks and public property, equipment for parks, we have significantly decreased. It's currently $107,261 and we're decreasing it to $45,000. This is because we had a lot of projects this year. We had the Bowery Park Playground, which was a significant portion of that at $75,000, which was the city's contribution to that. We had other equipment like the trash cans, and the baby changing table. We are going to carry over though, the park games, because I don't think we'll be able to get to that this year. And then, we'll have that at $10,000. And then, $1,500 for, Hippo, that was in Dolbinsville at that park playground.
Yes.
So we're gonna replace that, and then the remaining, just for parks generally.
You mentioned the baby changing, like, was already expended. I thought that we didn't do it.
We budgeted for it.
No, I know we budgeted,
We
but,
haven't put it in yet.
so that's being carried over in 45.
No, we've already ordered it,
Okay,
so it's
then-
scheduled to be completed this
and then we already paid 75 for order of the
year.
playground.
Mhm.
I heard the other day that the delivery is delayed for September. so
Yeah.
I'm not sure it gets carried over.
No, we've already said it, because we had to put the deposit down, and I announced, a couple council meetings back that the equipment was getting delayed, and it was gonna be delivered like sometime in the middle of the summer, and I said it wouldn't, make sense for us to do it then, because the park is, of course, used highly throughout the summer.
Mhm.
And then the county has their, summer,
Right.
so I didn't wanna interrupt that, so we're gonna delay it to like probably start of September, whenever.
And once the new surface is put down, then we won't have to mulch that
We
playground.
won't have to mulch it.
We want to mulch the smaller ones, but
Correct.
still, this was the big one.
Yes.
But I think
but there
patching
is,
the surfaces.
yeah, there is a potential for that, just like anything.
Do you
to
require
erode
it
and
to-
need maintenance over time, so
Well, yeah, over time, but probably not the first year.
yeah, you never know.
Then there's warranty if they can several years.
There is a warranty, yep. And I know Encore long term is gonna continue to raise funds for that.
So I'm not complaining, we have 45, but I was writing down Park Games 10 and Hippo at 1,500. What else is comprising that 45,000? I missed something, sorry.
Just the
Double
remaining
carry.
balance is just for all park maintenance, for cleaning, whatever else we need.
Mulch,
to do.
etc.
Like in the swing.
Right.
I just thought it was in maintenance.
We have mulch in,
Aren't all the greens on the 26th of September? Will the playground be done by then?
TBD. I don't have.
I
dates yet.
doubt it. You said
Okay.
first September?
No, September 26th.
26th.
I was talking to Steven the other day at both of our kids played T-ball, so I was asking him about that and he said late September, but I just don't, like, I think they're starting to build it in September because they have to
I don't
close the
have
playground because of the camp. So like,
I'm just thinking,
I don't
if
know
any
about that.
possibility, could we wait till right after that? So-
That would be really tough, because then you get into the possibility of the ground being too hard with the weather changes. Yeah. But again, I don't have any dates, so I
I'm
will
just
have.
throwing it out there.
Question I had about.
Out on the green,
Art on the Green,
the
September
fourth,
26th.
the fourth Friday, Saturday.
Yeah,
But when phase one was installed, it was what, 2 to 3 weeks?
I don't know.
That's my.
I don't know, and we're hoping to have much more coordinated effort this time. But there's a lot of components to this with the surface.
But the surface makes this installation more complicated, yes.
so if by chance we could put it to September 28th, that would be amazing.
I'll let you know.
We don't,
We don't usually have frozen ground in October.
No,
America's celebrating 250, Newcastle 375 this year. In regards to the parks, can you look at a big City of Newcastle flag at Battery Park? We have a state flag and some other flags. We don't have the city flag there.
Okay,
You know what I'm talking about? The big,
the flagpoles.
the big flagpole.
Yeah. Okay, planting and pruning of trees, we kept that same number as last year.
And that's the TAC request, right?
Yes. tree committee legal, so you'll see later in budget lines, all of the committees and commissions have legal, meeting, security, I forget what else, but they have more lines added so that we can differentiate it better. So we just added a line for tax and legal. I don't know that we'll have to use it, but we just wanted to give ourselves a buffer.
Does TAC have its own line for like meeting and security? Like, should that be there? Like, you know how planning and hack have their own, like, I wonder if it should be taken out of. Park.
Traditionally, I think it was always in that, right, pruning and planting. But we can break it out even more.
Now, does this include the beautification? Was a big
Yes.
controversy for the flowers and stuff.
How much did
Yeah,
we
we
add
did.
towards that?
2,000,
For beautification.
and we just got a trustee grant for that.
And I learned at Maymarket in chatting with people that Arisafa gives them like $800 worth of plants. Yeah, that they buy wholesale, so it's really like $1,000 probably or more retail value of what they give.
Yeah, meter security is currently in. Pruning and planting the trees.
So that wrapped into that.
Yeah, so do you want another line, then that number will decrease?
I'm like, just to be consistent with hack and planning and all that stuff, I think they all have it separate, you know, but.
So do they have an office there at their meetings? Well,
Yeah,
they're in this,
multiple meetings.
well, they're in this building,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So it's not a separate officer like it is who comes to the meetings at the senior center. It's whoever's on duty.
No, that's a separate officer. This is a separate officer for all meetings.
Oh, okay. So there's someone like assigned to us now who just in the back in case.
Well, no, they're right up front.
Roddick's at the front desk.
Yeah.
Oh,
Officer Roddick's.
oh, okay. I thought somebody was at the front desk generally, at least for a while in the evenings, but no, that's because we're here.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I did.
Just go back to the, planting trees, pruning.
Yeah.
So a couple months back at our city council meeting at the annual report by the TAC was presented. And I just want to remind everyone that they mentioned in their annual report, 900 hours of dedicated time could be at risk in regards to completing tasks associated with the tree commission and other endeavors. So I just want to.
Oh, because they've had a very dedicated volunteer,
Essentially volunteered his time in terms of being an arborist.
right?
And an arborist on staff or on file, on call is required for a Tree USA city designation.
Well, on call is not the same as having a contract with
Like a
someone.
consultant.
A consultant,
Yes.
yeah, that we
Yeah.
pay by the hour
Did they
or
put
whatever.
a number in there?
No, we did ask them to look and give us an idea as to what that potentially could cost, but, since it carried forward from the prior year, I think the answer is no.
I think that's something, glad you brought that up, that's something we're gonna
Yeah.
talk about long term. Because I think there are some changes to come. Okay. Playground maintenance, wood carpet,
Oh, so the mulch, I just realized the mulch is in this line, not in the other
Yeah.
line.
That's why I was asking, what's in that other?
we decreased that one. We contract maintenance for city property and parks increased slightly. These are things like our current landscaper, vermin control for the dikes and weed control for the dikes. The dog park. So I wanted to talk about this. We have the remaining balance that we've been budgeting for. We worked through some of that this year. We finally received a quote and it was over $100,000.
Oh my God.
I am working with our engineer to get 2 more quotes, so that we have something to compare it to. But I think that we should consider using some of those savings from ARPA, again, to fulfill that once we determine, which quote was best and which we want to move forward with, and then we should fulfill that way. I'm also planning on, in 10 days, submitting an ORPT grant, letter of, grant request, and then hope to be invited to apply for an ORPT grant to fund this project.
For next
So,
year? Because we applied for it and failed.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, for next year, that will require a match. So I'll keep you posted as that
So
progresses.
the ARPA could be for the match and the ORPT potentially paid the other part.
Yes, yes. So again, I don't have, I still have to apply for that. But I'll let you know more as that progresses. Usually, I think around like mid-June is when you're typically invited to apply if they select you. So I'll keep you posted. And I'll keep you posted as we get more quotes. Okay, capital outlays. Equipment and vehicles, we still need to add to that. But we had 15,000 in there. We did leave the amount in there to purchase a newer trash truck in the event that we aren't able to purchase it in June, just as a reminder to ourselves that we would like to purchase a used trash truck to have as a backup. But again, we hope to purchase that in the coming weeks. The handicap curb ramps. We have used, it shows 0 expended this year, but we will use some of it, as we've been working on extra curbs. So then we added 25,000 again for next year.
So we didn't get billed yet for the work that was done last.
It might not have been done yet,
Well,
like we added
But
it.
there was some work done like
Yes,
last.
but that was covered by grants and stuff.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
we had everything put together. And then as we were working on the Bonneville work, there might have been like a curve or two where we said, oh, we should add that because it's right there. Things like that. Debt service vehicle lease.
Do
will
you
be
think
added.
that can be reduced by chance?
I don't think we should reduce that.
Yeah, I think this is a big need for us.
Yeah. Question on, I guess, curb, ramps, and made me think of this. I
Mhm.
think at our mid-year, Councilperson Day mentioned, the long curb on Market Street.
Yes.
Do we have an update on that? Has there been any traction on that?
Yeah, I'm working with our engineer to scope out what exactly we need to do there, have him work on a plan, and then we'll bid that.
Oh, where it's so high.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
And then
Thank you.
maybe, redoing all of the cobblestones on that street. I know it's gonna be an exorbitant cost, but we at least wanna get an idea of what it will cost.
Yeah, and that's something that could have an overlay in the capital improvement,
Exactly.
project or, plan. if you
Yeah.
will.
Yeah, I definitely think that's something we should look at, but even if in the short term, we just had a walkway, you know what I mean, that was flat and safe, connecting one side of the street to the other side of the street so that you can get up to the Arsenal. You know what I mean? Because even like this weekend, walking from the Arsenal side over to Main Market, like it's hazardous. Whereas if you had a walkway, you could funnel people that way and they would use it. So, anyway.
I mean,
Yeah, I guess we could do that in the interim.
as a parent of 2 little kids, that's like a tricky street to navigate with kids to like, we gotta actually focus.
Yeah.
You know.
Exactly.
But, I wanted to
Whatever,
comment,
Al.
I wanted to comment on this line, curb ramps, like, I think it's one of those things, it's great that we're utilizing grants, we absolutely should max this out. But it might be another candidate in the years that we don't use it, to keep it in that same account, third sweep account, like to, have available, but earning interest with, because we haven't used it 5 years straight, so just another thought.
Oh, we could use it for, in front of the Arsenal.
Absolutely, I think that's why I said we should
I think that's-
max it out every year, I think.
Yep.
But
Then we have the Go Bond, which
Where?
remains the same at 225,000.
Oh, next to the last one
Oh, I
on
see.
page 9.
And then after that, we have storm drainage, MS4. We increased that by 41,000 and change. It was 130, we increased it to 171. That's our MS4 permitting and our annual inspections of dikes and things like that. We know that we need a repair to be done.
Is that why it's jumped up so
That's
much?
why it's jumped up. We are gonna see if we can get some of it done in this year, but we just found out about the repair. So I'm not sure that we will be able to get it done this year. And it'll be larger than we have left.
do you know which one?
I don't know if someone has, sorry. I can let you know next meeting. And we also have the surface water matching planning grant, which we've received 2 grants for that, which have reduced the cost of KCI for, this year by 13,000. And then next year, they gave us another 12,500, to, review the, green infrastructure of the stormwater
So is that throughout the city?
throughout the city.
What's that mean?
So we have, the current grant, they continued the work that they had been doing maybe for the past 5 years to inventory all of the storm drains and add it to the state, like GIS tracker for it. And then, this new grant that we received funds for, they're looking at what we currently have, and then they're making, recommendations, just basically conducting a study to how we can improve, the infrastructure and make it more environmentally friendly.
One of the things that I'm glad you said that because I was in Buttonwood the other day and I noticed that the open culvert up there, it's a big wide open concrete culvert. It's like holding water. And it looks like there's over a foot of water in it and it's stagnant. It's not moving. So I'm thinking something's blocked on one side or the other, but I wanted to bring it up and obviously if they're reviewing all the city's drainage, I assume that would be part of it, but I'm not even so sure that city's infrastructure there, if it's the counties or
Is
somebody
it
else's.
along the roadway? Because last year there was an issue and we.
It's actually perpendicular. So
Okay.
once you get to the church,
Mhm.
it's like, it goes under the road. But on the south side of the road is where the big 4 or 5 foot wide open culvert is. And you can see the water just laying in there,
Yeah,
which I imagine in another month is gonna be a mosquito problem.
Right.
yeah.
I think I know the area you're talking about, Joe. On the other side across the street is the county's, drainage piece, I believe. Is that right?
I'm not sure who owns any of it, to
Okay,
be honest with
okay,
you.
okay.
It may be.
I have heard about pooling of water, mosquitoes and
Mhm.
trash in there, and that creates some further down the line issues toward the Penn Valley where
Yeah.
the dam and the beavers were having those
Yeah.
issues there.
Right, and the flood committee went out, I know,
Yes.
and because there were some complaints. And not only was it mosquitoes and trash and all that, but obviously in heavy rains, it could
Mhm.
cause flooding. And they picked up some problems, and I thought Public Works or somebody had
Yes, we
reamed
did,
it
where
out.
the beavers and the dam was, but I'm not sure if this is.
So we haven't had rain in quite a few days, so it concerned me.
Yeah,
So,
I'll definitely, have them.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay, capital improvement and road repair remains at 54,700, and that's the carryover for the future, improvements to the parking lot area by the dog park. And then we
Sorry,
have,
say that again. Sorry,
say it again,
I was making notes about Buttonwood,
okay.
if you don't mind repeating
No,
that.
that's fine. The capital improvements and road repairs, we have the 54,700, and that's for the, parking area by the future dog park. To make the improvements over there. I also want to consider adding to that, if we can, with, those arbor paving. Because I think I would like, the engineer and I were talking about some other improvements that we can make, on the opposite side to maybe add like a sidewalk and a proper curb
Yeah.
and just improve that whole
Yeah,
area.
that would be great. Yeah.
Opposite side of, like, is it looking to the dog park to the right? Like
If
where,
you're
Out along Chestnut, you
on
mean?
Chestnut, yeah.
okay,
So like.
Yeah, that's
right.
right, there's
Up in there
no
now.
walk
yeah,
there.
that would be great, yeah.
That would And we say that, and I'm all for the dog park, but even if we didn't do the dog park,
Yeah.
that area still needs to
It
be
needs to be
addressed.
cleaned up,
It's a,
absolutely.
it's a mess.
Yeah.
I mean, it just hasn't been addressed in a long time. We've never put money into that area.
Yeah.
My only, not concern, but think about the sidewalk there, I absolutely need it, so I don't wanna be misunderstood, but I know some of the Wimaco plan will address that pathway there. So I don't know if there's a timing or
Oh, that's true.
thinking, like, how should we strategically redo it, so it's not, we pay now and then it's gonna have to be demolished.
Part of it has to be where it joins.
So I don't know if Chris can look into the plan to see where we shouldn't intervene because, well, MAPCO will address it eventually.
Well, I don't think
That's what I'm
MAPCO
saying.
provides
I'm
funding.
not
They'll-
saying it's will MAPCO plan that we will get funding to build that or whatever.
I don't know that
Funding.
street.
No, but where that street joins
But there will be, that will
Ferry,
be
where
done.
it comes into Ferry Cutoff.
There will
I think
be
that was
entrances.
not this latest plan, the one.
I think it's the
So there's
latest.
no point in us putting in a new sidewalk that they'd have to tear out if they're gonna change that anyway.
That's all I'm saying, so it's not like one of those
Right,
things where
right,
like,
right.
hey,
Yeah, overall, we need to.
I- don't wanna be misunderstood, sidewalk needed, but.
All right, mayor and council, salaries and FICA remain the same. Advertising, we have increased again, due to, the weekly, we have a lot more meetings than maybe in the past, we have a few added committees and such, so we've added, to that. That also includes the William Penn and Little League contributions, which we've been doing for the past couple of years. Professional development, we increased that just ever so slightly, just to account if you guys want to have some more league dinners or any other offerings. I know IPA is gonna offer some more courses and stuff, so just making sure that you have enough funding there. Association dues remains the same.
I'm sorry, can we back up the advertising? Is that like for new job listings and?
No, that's for like a week.
Oh, okay, that's for all the
Meeting
notice,
schedules.
all the meeting schedules. All right.
Staying in the election, the right election.
Oh,
is.
that's, yeah, we have elections next spring, so there's more.
Would you like it?
And you said this is also like William Penn and in that same line, advertising?
Yeah, William Penn and the Little League.
It was nice to see the, our logo at Little League the other day. See that.
Economic development activities, we've left it the same at 15,000. You'll see that we spent a little more this year. We had the brochures and such that we typically purchase, and then for our upcoming events, we ordered well, we received a grant last year for the barricades, the new barricades that were used at, I think was it block party in the fall? Or was it? Yeah, the block party
The one at the.
on the green.
Oh, the senior center one.
Yes.
Wow.
And so for that,
Good block party.
especially for the upcoming Separation Day, we ordered jackets for them. So that way they look really nice and clean and presentable for us, and they'll have our city logo on them.
And then again, what did you get jackets from?
The
Yeah,
barricades.
Not like this kind of jacket.
I understand. Now you want a jacket.
Yeah. And we're also gonna, make improvements to the signage and the maps throughout the city, so that will go there too.
In regards to, this could be advertising, this could be economic or community development, and I'm sure there's probably other categories it could be in. And I've wanted this for a while, and that is some enhancement build out to our city website, specifically around, so for example, we have a category called visitor information. And it's a little dated. It doesn't make reference to, for example, some of the restaurants and businesses that we all love and support, or anything like that. So I think it's important, if we're gonna have visitor information, to try to be more robust in regards to activities and visitor tourist experiences.
So the entire website, we are hoping to have some upgrades to coming soon. We're working with the state to get that done, so that'll definitely be prioritized. Specifically, those pages along with plenty of other pages on the website. I don't know that we need to add anything here,
Okay,
because it'll be provided to us with the state assistance.
okay.
But I'll make a note for those pages.
Yeah, and I can send you some ideas or concepts of what I'm talking about, and was hoping, with the warmer weather coming up, that we get some updates to that sooner rather than later, right? Us getting it updated in October, November is nice, but people really could benefit in these next few
The
months.
website is really tricky because the state basically controls it and we have to stick with their formats and they have to do everything.
Yeah.
So we don't always have it done when we'd like it to be done.
Right, no, I appreciate that. I'm just pointing out,
Oh, I'm not disagreeing with you that that needs to be done. I'm just saying it's not entirely within our control.
So why does the state control that?
But
Why
the
can't we
content
get our
is-
own?
yeah,
We'd have to
Content
pay-
are controlled.
They pay the-
content.
They pay the web fee and manage the website and
And the
provide the
domain.
security, the domain name. And we'd have to do all that on our own. And it also makes all the municipal websites throughout the state have a consistent format.
Yeah, there are some municipalities who don't use the state. It's very expensive not to use the state. That's something that we could consider down the line. I think we should not do that. I think we should.
I think we should ask state for more services to help us with.
Yeah. And so I'm in touch with them to try to have them adjust our website sooner than later, so.
I'll show you what I'm talking about, some of the examples.
Because I know we had
the
the
same
student project
Right.
where they worked up and they finished, they gave us the recommendations, we liked them, and it took months for the state to get it posted.
Yeah, we still have some more recommendations that they're trying to work through.
Yeah,
So,
those are harder because they're design changes, not content. Content we can change.
Well,
but-
content we can change,
Yeah,
but layout
Mhm.
is the
Layout is,
state.
mhm.
Oh, yeah, this is all.
And, if the state's slashing staff because of budget constraints, that's not gonna help.
So, Sea Level Rise Task Force. The,
so can I, sorry, before we go there, under economic development, so I know we put maps, the maps in front of library, on Delaware Street in front of City Hall. I don't know where else it is, maybe on Pier. Like, are we, and this was part of last year's budget. Can we talk about timeline for that?
yeah, we're working on that right now, the partner. We're getting it done.
So what is the timeline? Sorry, what are we looking for it to be?
We're hoping to get it done in the next,
Oh, great.
yeah.
No, I just,
John helping me order them and, they were placing order for something else, so we're just coordinating after something.
because I know this was, put in budget last year, so I want to make sure that we're putting it before crowds start coming to town.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so sea level rise task force, we put the carry forward for the engineer to help us with the BERT grant, which I announced at the last council meeting that, FEMA announced that they were moving forward with the BERT grant. And of course, there is another part, the BERT grant. So we're still gonna leave that in there because there's word that it's hopefully gonna come back around to the fall. But I think regardless, I think we just need to finish up the application that we've been working on, get everything done and have it prepared. That way we can send it to DEMA, our state agency. They can review it so that once the next NOFO comes out, then we can send it off to DEMA and then we're ready. So that's included there. And then the meeting items are included there, but we'll break the meeting security and professional development out from there. And then we again added a line for legal for that committee. General code updates, we increased slightly. We've had quite a few ordinance changes, so we use that line significantly. The next line is contributions, which doubled from last year, as you can see. So we received a ton of requests this year. We've added a couple of local organizations that have sent requests in. Do you want to go over that now, or do you want to go over that after the budget?
What kind of requests are these?
The
Contributions. Oh, those contributions. Oh, yeah.
So,
I mean, a lot of them are pretty much in line with previous year. The library, which they say is because the county's cutting their budget. Buttonwood School, that's a big ask,
that's a significant.
and they did not give us a lot of detail.
Right. I have asked them for their financials. They said that they're working on that. And hopefully they'll send that to
Well,
us soon.
my other question about it was they didn't address the issue of what other grants they might be applying for this same, for the, redo the, clear the land, put the playground and the garden area and the greenhouse. I mean, that all sounds like great things to have for the community.
Right.
Although I will say, if they're gonna make a new playground, do we need to repair and?
Well, I think we should focus our efforts on repairing our own city park that is used, by all of us.
I'm talking about there's a
The
small
Buttonwood.
city playground in Buttonwood, which is probably used mostly by Buttonwood residents,
That's what I'm saying.
as would this. The one at the school would probably be used more widely if they had events at the school,
Right.
but.
But that would be for that, it would be private, it wouldn't be a city park.
Right, that's true. But I just, does that area need two playgrounds is basically my question.
Well, we would have to determine whether or not they would allow the public to use it, on their off hours, and if they're, assuming liability for that.
Well, yeah, that gets sticky, okay. But I guess my other question was, not invoice, but the bid or whatever, the proposal that they submitted, it listed the total amount and it broke out the amounts, but it didn't give line item amounts for the different parts, the greenhouse, the clearing, the land, the playground. And I was wondering, does it all have to be done at once?
So I reached out to them to get further clarification on what exactly they were requesting. And they said that they would, appreciate the full funded amount, but would accept half.
Oh, that's generous.
I have a different question, and maybe they've applied for funding in other places for different things. But the building absolutely needs a roof. They still have the framework of the tarp that was on the roof, and part of the tarp is still there. It's kind of blowing, but you can see the framework and the roof is completely shot. So maybe they have other grants and stuff for that.
Maybe.
But I want to make sure before we give them $48,000 for something else, that the roof is taken care of.
Right.
That
Yeah.
protecting the asset. I mean, it's in
That's right.
deplorable shape.
Right, and I wondered, Encore found a multitude of foundations willing to help fund playgrounds. And I was wondering if the people at the Buttonwood School Association had applied for grants for their playground through any of those organizations. They say they've applied to other organizations for grants, but they don't say whether it's for this or for other things.
Right.
That's part of my question about their submission, is they just weren't terribly specific.
No, they weren't. I can ask for more details if you like, and I can ask for clarification about the roof.
Yeah.
Councilperson Day, in regards to your question about the roof, I do know that, couple things. They're working to try to get on the National Register, to solidify, the building structure validated. And then,
And sorry to add to that, we finally just received the letter from the state that we will get the historical
portion for,
grant to help them with that application.
Okay.
but I do know, the federal government, process has been slow. And I believe that they have, they have been awarded money from, Senator Coons' office.
Okay.
In regards to infrastructure, in the building. Don't know anything about time horizon. I can ask, but I did hear that in regards to.
Well, good.
Yeah, I'm glad they asked for a grant,
Yeah.
because
Absolutely.
they could have been doing this for years where they haven't. And I'm supportive, but I want to make sure, the
Right.
important things are done first. too.
No, that definitely makes sense. I can try to find out. I know Ms. Kinsella.
Yeah, I'll reach out to her.
Is that the same, Councilperson Manaway? There were notes here that they received National Park Service African American Civil Rights Grant Program, which will be dispersed between 2026 and 2030, which will provide critical foundation.
I don't
know
know
that.
what category money that came from. I don't know. I can try to find out.
Well, it's great, even if it's more, it seems like they're active and.
Great.
But I agree with you, Council President, in regards, agree with everyone, but in regards to your comments of a playground and use in that portion of our community and best use and leveraging, synergies from Encore, et cetera. I wasn't on council at the time. I know you were when, the quote unquote, subcommittee was formed for desire to capture input from other community members for quote unquote other satellite playgrounds.
Right,
So I think this is perhaps an opportunity to engage
right.
people locally on the ground there to see what they want. Because I know from the subcommittee, one of the concerns was, outsider coming in saying, this is
Exactly.
what we're gonna give you as opposed to what you want.
Exactly. I mean,
So-
this is them saying, this is what we want, and
Yeah.
that's terrific.
Yeah, and then how do we
But
help you get
could
it?
they work with Encore? At least to say, you might try this foundation and that foundation and that foundation, because we were successful with them for playground money. And now some of that may have been because their playground is accessible to the handicapped, and that may rule out some grants since this is a more generic playground, as I understand it. But still, I think it's worth making inquiries.
Yeah.
And also to see if it would be possible to sort of break up the work and maybe spread it over 2 years instead of 1 year, to ease the money situation a bit.
Yeah, and it makes sense to try to help or create synergies around making that what it once was in regards to an institution and a place that people would always go to.
Community center,
Right,
yes.
not just for school, but for events and things of that nature.
Absolutely.
So-
I mean, I applaud their efforts to build that community. It was kind of a shock to see that big a number with so little explanation.
But I do think like, there's another playground there, so somebody brought that up, so like, it would be good to know like the plans. for
Yeah,
that
that's
area,
right.
Like, like, cause it is nearby, so.
If they plan to make
Absolutely.
it private only because of liability
Yeah.
issues, okay, then the city still has responsibility for the other one.
Mhm.
But if they're willing to open it up, then maybe the money that would have gone into that other playground could go towards this one.
So Arisafa, their request remains the same at 2,500. Goodwill increased their request by 5,000, so they requested a total of 55,000. The library increased their request by 30,000, with a total request of 40,000 for operating expenses. The NCCP request increased by $500. The Historical Society increased, I'm sorry, their request remains the same at 20,000. The Senior Center
Oh, went up
request by 1,000, for a total of 6,000. We talked about Hollywood for a request of 48,976. The Volonka Airfield Museum is a new request of $3,500. Encore's request remains the same at 5,000, and CCD increased their request by $500.
I have a question about the Polanco. When I went through the online packet, there was no written request from Polanco.
Yeah, I don't see anything in here.
Maybe I excluded it, I'm sorry, that's an error on my part.
Because I was, it's
They
like,
definitely sent it back up and
okay.
maybe it didn't attach, I'm sorry.
I mean, it's not a large request and there,
It's for, their
it
windows.
says windows and I just wondered, well, where did we even get that much information since
Yeah.
I didn't have the.
No, I haven't, I'm sorry, it just. must
Oh,
have
okay.
attached.
I thought that might be.
Yeah, I'll send it. I'll send it to you. Sorry about that.
I would like to make a motion that, we create a separate line item, for the Goodwill Fire Company in our budget. They are an essential service, to the community. They, sit on several, imperative commissions and boards in our city. And, I think the city and the residents value them enough to dignify them with a line item. I think it's appropriate to have discussions on an annual basis like we do for all line items. So I think, we need to show them some goodwill. I think it's
My
necessary.
understanding is, at least in part, it's difficult to add and delete line items in this software, the budget software.
Yeah.
You can add, okay, because I just remember you saying that Edwin's, I think it's called, the software wasn't always real flexible.
No, you can't delete or add in the middle of a budget year. Like I can't add one for 26, but for 27, I can delete in that.
Oh, okay, so
Yeah,
that's
Sarah,
the part I
that
didn't,
line, please.
Yeah.
didn't understand.
Yeah, you can't do it in the.
So
middle
I
of a
guess it
budget
would be part of public safety. Hopefully.
year.
I would not put it as part of
Oh.
public safety because that's for our police department. I would keep it under mayor and council, but just.
Just make it a separate line.
Yeah, I mean, we already have a fees to Goodwill, Riverbend line, we could just put it under that, right, or,
That, yeah, that's for Riverbend
Jason.
specifically.
Mhm.
right, but we could,
Unless you wanna change, the other option is 27, you could change the title of that Riverbend, like.
I
you
think
could
we should
drop
keep
off
it-
Riverbend.
Yeah, but I think we
That's
should
not
keep it
bad.
separate because
Yeah.
those are the impact fees from Riverbend and then this.
And we have to be able to track them and relate them with the cost of the fee, because they're an impact fee, not revenue.
Yeah, I don't have issue either way, like whether they stay here or have a separate line. Obviously, I agree with Councilperson Mataway that they're, you know, imperative and that they're so
Oh,
critical to
absolutely.
what we do. I'm sure everybody else agrees here. So whatever they are, I'm, you know, I support.
Yeah, and they are by far the largest of the grants that we typically make. I mean, the Buttonwood request is getting close this time, but that's atypical.
And administratively, you know, they support a lot of the events every time
Absolutely.
we get an event request and we review it with our internal departments. Although they are not a specific internal department of the city, they certainly provide support and help us with that. So we're constantly coordinating with them.
Sure, so
Absolutely.
Since a motion was made, should we just have a vote or we don't need one?
You can, so in this context, as long as there, if the consensus of council, you can just add that to the budget and it'll be incorporated when you approve the budget.
Okay.
Is there an amount that you guys, was it the 55 or did we put it different?
The will of council will do that. I was just trying to establish a protocol.
Okay, so in
and-
order for me to create the account, I have to put a number in there, so are you, for now, just.
for now, put the 55, and then we can, when we finalize things, that number might change, but
Thank you.
Sounds good, thank you.
So what are we doing about Buttonwood though?
we're gonna get more
He's got
information.
more
Yeah.
We're waiting for the roof, like structural stuff.
And also the questions about what other grants they've applied for, and can they split it across 2 years, those kinds of.
Playground,
And yeah, how would they envision the playground being used? Would they envision it substituting for, replacing the existing playground, or a supplement to it?
I love the community garden there. I mean, that's
That's a
a
great
great,
idea.
that's a great.
And I mean, having the playground right next to it, the parents can work in the garden, the kids can play in the, I mean, it's a great
Absolutely.
plan.
All right, back to mayor and council, meeting security and rental fees, we just slightly increased that by $500. Equipment purchases, we left at 1,000. We haven't really touched that line this year,
We're done with contributions?
yes,
Okay, sorry.
for now, we'll go back to that at a later date.
So what page are we on?
Well,
Anyway, so I can't.
Shifted gears, we need quick. All right, 11, all right.
Sorry.
That's all right. Oh yeah, I had a question about that. So in our revenue, that's 63,000, like where does the rest of it go? So like if we put 4,000, if we give 4,000 to 5 right
What are you
now,
talking
I
about?
thought the Riverbend,
For the-
the last one, fees to Goodwill, Riverbend.
I should say Riverbend on
So that one,
So like in our revenue side, impact fees, Riverbend,
Is
to
it-
date is 63,000 that we have collected. But in the actual number on page 11 for FY 26, fees to Goodwill Riverbend is 4,000. So my question,
Yeah,
Yeah,
because we
so-
get a
we get a
different,
portion of it.
so that's what I'm saying, is the rest of it going to the city for some other impact?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
part of that.
It's helping to fulfill the budget.
Mhm.
It's not differentiated, but that is something we should probably plan for longer.
Got it. That was just a question,
Okay,
like,
let's set up, it was just set up to the Rick's budget, I guess.
yeah, I didn't know what was the ratio, obviously, when they created impact fees for Riverbend, like. what
Yeah,
was the-
$500 of the 3,000 goes to Goodwill,
There you
of
go.
each property.
Okay, that's the math.
so that's what I was gonna ask, and I thought it was 500,000 to Goodwill for each property. But,
$500.
I'm sorry, 500.
Okay.
So that would just mean that 8 houses this year? Like I.
well, we
We
just,
just got a ton.
Yeah.
It's not this March.
Okay, I know I count the building permits every
you
month, and
did,
we're pretty consistent between 5 and 8.
did on, wait, no,
So
you.
there's 21 buildings, there's 63,000 right now,
Next week,
so.
Okay.
you'll see it in the
it
April
should be
report,
No,
the May report.
10,500.
Yeah, because we're cutting it tomorrow.
Yeah, okay,
Okay.
so you'll see it in their report.
Okay.
It
Thank
seemed
you.
like it should be 10,500 based on the revenue side, 63,000. I just did quick. Yeah, so
Which, sorry, which,
the Riverbend, Goodwill Riverbend should be 10,500. If we divide 63,000 by 3,000, we get 21 properties. And if we multiply that by 500, that's 10,000.
Do we get 500 a year or
No,
500
each property.
as it's built,
Yes.
when
as
they
it's
make the
built.
building permit application?
Per CO.
so you wanna change that number you said?
No, I'm not saying change it.
No, he's
I was
just
just saying like,
estimating how
that,
much.
we're saying like, why is the number low? I'm saying that's probably what's gonna be, but we get a revised
Oh.
numbers from you. It's gonna be a little over 10,000.
So to back up a couple lines, election expenses, we have 10,000 a year, because it is an election year.
Right.
And then the annual calendar remains the same, they've quoted us the same amount. Transcription services increased slightly, and then fees to Goodwill, we increased that slightly.
So in election expenses, we talked about this so many times.
Mhm.
And I'm sorry that I'm boring and annoying about this, but I really would like us to use more targeted commercials on Facebook for our region, like our city borders, to
Yeah.
tell people their elections. I think we need to make sure that participation in elections are, as high as we can possibly get them. So that, because we have seen in public comments where people come and say, we haven't been, nobody's listening to us. And I think this is one way to say you're being heard. So that, so I think that's obviously we get just a fraction of people that come to our public meetings, but that's the reason I'm saying the Facebook targeted ads for this wouldn't be so expensive. We're talking about several $100s to run an
Yeah, I
ad.
was just
say
gonna say,
there's,
I'm just gonna add $500.
months
for that.
before, like there's election, I don't know, like
Yeah.
make sure you vote or whatever, like on this date. And it probably is like this part within 10,000, we can probably like fit it in there.
You probably
I
could,
don't
but I'm just
think we
thinking
can
like,
use
if fees for insurance or whatever go, let's just add 500 just to cover ourselves. Based on last year, or 2025 election. Okay.
Thanks.
Salaries for clerk and treasurer, and the FICA remains the same. Finance, we just have the audit there. And that remains the same at 45,000. Administration,
We're up on page 13 now, right?
Yes.
Yes, but, yeah, finance audit.
Mhm.
top of 13.
Cost $45,000 for an audit? Have we gone out for a proposal for that?
Well, it did go up, yeah, I mean, it's been 26.
in a couple of years, remember last year we had, and previous 2 years, 3 years, there were a lot of things that the auditors had to fix.
Mhm.
With the way that the accounts were, so we have finally done that. So the proposals and amounts should remain pretty steady, going forward.
And they also had said before that we were getting a discount.
Right,
You've worked in another town, is that about reasonable?
Yeah. yeah, I think if we go out for a bid, it'll be significantly more. I'm happy to go out for a bid, next year, but I think since we already got the quote for this year, we could keep it, or if you want me to rebid it, I can, it'll just be a really quick turnaround since we start.
If you said it's reasonable, then, like,
Yeah, I think they're a good company.
I'm seeing right now the Lewis audit is 34,035. I'm just trying to see like what people are having across. So I'm gonna look at Bush and you as well.
Okay, salaries for administration and all of that will be added once we finish asking negotiations. Employee retention. We have the 10,000 that we've had for the past couple of years. If you wanna continue with that.
So that's 113.
Which one, sorry?
That's 113.
And just to add, Ocean Views auditing is 27,500 for next year.
That's a little too far.
Maybe look work.
Oh, so the bottom line on 13. So that is, what kinds of things does that include?
That was when Councilman Mataway wanted to set up the employee retention program. So we were funding it, but I think we need to,
And that was the
Define.
tax, really, they got it.
That was
I thought it was
Auxiliary?
like transfer tax relief, wasn't it?
Yeah, if
They bought a house.
if they lived in the city. Right, or almost like a,
They want a house in the city.
yeah, that's what that
But I think we need to revisit it and maybe
Yeah.
refine it a little more.
So this is a carryover then, right? This is not
Yeah,
a
it's
new
not-
10,000.
Nobody's
never been-
what
No.
we're saying.
Professional development remains the same. The administrator expense remains the same. Computer hardware and IT, we have decreased that because we did not need to use all of our budget for that last year because we got quite a few grants. We have a lot of cost savings there. Dues and publications, we've increased to add an additional membership to ICMA. Office supplies and printing remains the same. Postage slightly increased. Telephone and internet increased as well. That goes along with the cybersecurity improvements that we're making as well. Administrative expense remains the same. Medical testing remains the same. Janitorial services increased because we currently only get janitorial services once every other week, and we would like to increase that to every week. And we also want to have regular cleaning of our windows on our building. I don't know when they were last cleaned, but we would like to get on a regular cycle of having them cleaned.
So picky.
And speaking of windows, somebody needs to take a look at the windows on the sides from the outside. They need paint.
Yeah.
Now, that may be part of your building maintenance.
Yes, we'll get there.
Okay.
So hopefully it's not an annoying comment, but I often think, I know this is crazy, but from time to time, I'll think about computer hardware, IT services and stuff like cyber stuff, like even financial services. Is this ever discussed at local leagues or between administrators as something that should be done in a coordinated effort
It is.
amongst municipalities or even through the state? Like, like I would assume whatever's like liability should be lower if all the municipalities had their finances go to the same system state uses. And we don't have to buy our own system, and it probably would be cheaper too, like if you're just adding. That's just like
Oh,
stuff
you
that
mean
I'm thinking,
the
and then
financial
ordering
management?
financial management, but also like ordering stuff like computer hardware, like if they did it for us, the same way they do like science kits for every school in a state, like school districts don't order them. DOE orders it for them and then they get distributed.
So the
Each school.
cybersecurity is a coordinated effort, and that's why I've been able to get so many grants through Homeland Security. They have money for municipalities that we've been working with DEMA to get for the past few years, and we've gotten a lot of money. So that is certainly a coordinated effort. In terms of the financial management system, I don't know that you would want it to go through the state and have everyone on the same plan. Every municipality is different, has different needs, and I don't think the state uses the same system that we do.
Oh, I'm sure they're not, but
so
just
I-
like from efficiency standpoint, because
Yeah,
fiscal.
I don't know that it would be the best option.
Okay.
for everyone
And
to-
if they're together and if somebody breaks into it, then they can knock out everybody.
No, sure, but the security is larger at the state level than it is for us, so like, it is like
Well,
one of
and
those things
we
where like,
already coordinate with them to ensure that we have.
we're on DTS firewall anyways.
We can't get the proper support for our website, so let's not go there.
Yeah, but all these things are increasing, so I'm just thinking like, is there a way of finding efficiency that will, or start talking to other municipalities to, order some of these things, in bulk.
In
rather than,
terms of ordering and things like that, we can use like the state negotiated contracts to get the best prices for things that we do, you know,
Okay.
for, when we order laptops.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay, what about that? Janitorial, okay, so building repairs, we have increased that, to 19,000 from 3,500. The front steps on our building, need to be repaired and redone, and we've received a quote for that, so we've included that in here. We tried to repair it ourselves and it didn't take, so we need to get that done to ensure safe access to the building. And then below that, the building security maintenance, we have some changes that we are making to building security, so the costs have increased.
I'm
To
sorry.
9,500.
Is the building accessible now? Handicap accessible?
Our
We
building,
have a ramp.
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay, I just wasn't sure.
yeah, it's off to the side. You
Yeah,
probably,
okay.
it's a little rainbow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, if you come like,
Liking.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but the ramp and the steps are all one,
They're all one.
okay,
Mhm.
I got
It might be a grandfather code that they're under. I don't know, under the most recent,
Mhm.
yeah, code.
Yep.
Pest control increased slightly. Building heat, we'll have a slight increase there. Fuel and oil, we increased that as well with the current economy. Software support, that increased along with, the typical contract rates we have for things. We also are, coming into the 21st century, and we will now have a, credit card machine at the home.
What does the
So,
software support entail? Like, what do we have?
what's under that line,
Yeah, whatever.
Evans, our software for Evans, Zoom, Code Red, and our HR. for ADP.
But what support do we get? Sorry, like beyond, so those are licenses, right? But what else do we get in addition to or this is just licenses?
Those are licenses.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And like is Zoom through the state? Is it same license or we have a private one?
We have our own. Copier lease decreased a little bit. Special projects and grants significantly increased. Last year, we created that special projects and grant fund. So we put 50,000 in there to fund that account. And then we have the 2 grant projects that we talked about at the mid-year budget review, which were the OR River Trail. You can end. Thank you. And that is 2,981. I did apply for bond bill for that, along with a bond bill request for Safe Streets for All, and that matches 108,961. Again, we take a gamble not putting it in the budget right now because we don't know if we're gonna get bond bill, but I think we should probably just be proactive and do that. And then if we do get the bond bill, then we can just move into that fund, or we can allocate it for something else.
So this number currently would be significantly reduced potentially by the time we need to vote on this, potentially. Like, hope.
No, because we've
Or
already
this
got the
is
bond
matching
bill.
side.
That's a matching.
Oh, we wouldn't know by, because
No.
we're voting before June 30th, I guess.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
The only question I had there is, was at the last meeting, we talked about the potential impact fee study, that's by Mattaway. So I didn't know if we wanted to add that or if we need to talk about that at a future date and continue considering that.
I mean, I'm in favor of impact fee studies just because the more I think about it, I know that we have a lot of approved projects in the city, but also I'm thinking like SBC area, like the Mondi, Dory, the Triangle, the St. Peter. So like there's some stuff that if any of those projects end up happening, that investment pays for itself almost. So like on the flip side, if we don't do it, then we're stuck with picking up that bill and, increasing tax for that amount that we, impact fee we should collect right now, but we're not. So that's the kind of my thinking, it's not necessarily direct impact that we'll get it like right back, but it's one of those things like 5-10 years from now, it might pay for itself. But 5-10 years from now, if we don't do it, we might be paying even more than that over time and absorbing that cost as a city, I guess.
Well,
So that's
the
kind
other
of
thing
the way
mentioned-
I see it, I guess, but I don't, it's tough to kind of quantify it without the impact fee study. I
well,
guess.
we don't yet have, Mr. Hoffman was gonna get us some information to make sure we're clear on the difference between revenue, impact fees, and I think there's a third thing that,
It's your fees and your impact fees.
other fees,
Right.
impact fees and revenue. And they're very different and there are strict rules about impact fees.
Yeah, I know this isn't like.
And the other issue was the projects that we have in the pipeline. What is the definition of pipeline? Would they be included or not in any impact fees we were to pass? So those are, to me, big questions. And I guess I thought of another one. If we invested $50,000 now in a study and let's just say none of the current projects are eligible for those fees because they filed their initial permit request or initial requests prior to us passing the legislation, then it could be 5 or more years before any other development happens. Would any study done now still be valid 5 to 7 years from now, or would it have to be redone?
I think there would be at least a start at that point. I think you could still use those fees identified in the study, because I was looking through the contract, like their sample of, I don't know, 6 different fees that they give you in a study that they identified in the municipality. They could still be used, I think, in my opinion. It's a great question, but obviously there, like, I think the way it was explained, like it would pay for itself and then it would pay, like it bakes in to undo another study. So eventually I think it will be warranted, like
So if we,
after a couple of projects, it will be like, okay, now if we can afford to do another study to refresh these numbers, but I think if anything, those numbers will just go up. So I think that even that initial study would set some minimum to say, I don't know, this much goes to this much goes to this. So I understand this is not revenue we're collecting and like making operating decisions off of. It's really just a wash off to whatever is needed extra that, it's a one-time thing. So
but
if we don't do it, on the flip side on that thinking, like then we have another project that we can incorporate into that because they apply before we have.
well, yeah,
So that's kind of the way.
that's the gamble.
Yeah, so.
But if none of the current projects would be, the fees would not be applicable to any of the current projects because they already started. Then at this point, that's an if, because Mr. Hoffman hasn't gotten back to us with his research on that. Then we'd be gambling.
I personally am, my decision was I'm basing it without those. Like, I'm just taking it like I don't know what the decision is obviously gonna be, but I'm basing it off of, I believe there's gonna be enough development to recoup the 50,000 that we're investing
And
right
I don't
now,
need
but
to know an answer tonight. I just wanted to get it on your radar to remind you of this possibility, but we can wait till Mr. Hoffman's research is complete. And you have a better sense.
And I'll endeavor to get that to you next week. So it's not gonna be delayed much further, but appreciate your patience.
I would say, for me, this is about being a fiduciary and setting up an infrastructure and system that ensures our city, future residents and future council people and leaders are equipped with systems and structure. And I think we all would agree, in hindsight, we wish we had impact fees right now. History repeats itself. And what we do know is Delaware is one of the fastest growing states in the country. We do know that USA Today and HGTV say that the city of Newcastle is one of the best small towns in the country. We also know that the state, not only last week at the council meeting, it was a House bill mandating by right accessory dwellings. Now it's also now a Senate bill that would mandate accessory dwelling units as a by right. So development is going to come. It's going to come.
Well, now those bills are at this point just introduced, right? So they haven't even been through committee. We don't know what their final form is going to be or if they'll pass.
Well, and I think yesterday, we're on it, the governor's passing an initiative.
So that, I was just, what prompted me to keep thinking about this even further was like, I saw on my newsfeed show that governor has opened launch jobs first permitting accelerator, basically like to bring more jobs and, development in the state. So like there's a new website they launched yesterday that allows for applications to be submitted through that would allow for faster processing of them. So, which obviously can be, not maybe any of them happen in Newcastle, but there's an incentive, there's a move towards reducing the barriers for, people to come and, create.
But adding impact fees is not reducing barriers.
No, it's not, but I'm saying as a city, we're taxing them residents for that, like, for that impact fee that should be, like added to the new development.
I think we all have want what's best for Newcastle, but it's a tough call because there's so many factors involved. And at this point, maybe we should just wait until we have at least some of the answers to get rid of some of the unknowns and then see where we come down.
Okay.
I mean, I'm okay with moving it even now because like regardless of what we find out next week, I think there's still that investment is still worth for future projects, I guess, that are not currently committed. That's, I guess, my predicament. That's all I'm like.
And Mike, when you come, I assume you'll come, and if we have specific projects we ask you about, you'd be able to say they're in or they're not in.
No, and
Okay.
that's the challenge. So I think what's one of the things to keep in mind and so what I hope to flush out in the memo is a couple things. One, there is a distinct difference between fees and impact fees and then taxes. Those were the three and how those are treated under the law. So I want to kind of, so you know what those are, you have those in front of you. The question of what is eligible for an impact fee is a very fact-dependent analysis on that project. So if you were to ask me and I had all the facts, I can give an assessment. I would not want to go on the record and say yes, no, maybe, infer. And so to kind of build off of the question, I do think when you are making this analysis or when you're conducting this analysis, I would not conduct the analysis based on whether those projects are in or out. I would ask yourself, is this what we should do?
Okay.
And not say we should do it only because this project is in the pipeline, if that makes sense. I would remove that from the question and analyze it as to, is this something that we should do?
Yeah.
And part of that analysis is going to come into, what is eligible for an impact fee. So one of the things that we, again, impact fees have to be tied to, capital expenditure and impact. And so you see most often impact fees in the case of utility infrastructure, which in the case of Newcastle is MSC. It's not only utility infrastructure. There are other, but what are those and what are those that are eligible for Newcastle? I don't know the answer to that. That's what a study would show you.
Right.
But, are there things in there that make sense for Newcastle? That's the question. I think that you all.
Well, yeah, and because we're on the county sewer system, if new development impact in terms of building new sewer lines falls on the county, so any impact fee would go to the county, not to the city, right?
In terms of those utilities, but there may be other things, and the question becomes, that's what a study, I think that's what Councilman Mataway is proposing for the study, that what are those other things? And so that's what you're, for the city of Newcastle, do impact fees make sense? Does a study to understand impact fees make sense? Does focusing on fees for services make sense? I mean, that's what I hope to lay out in the memo is kind of those buckets, and then you can all have a conversation.
Well, and I understand what you're saying, but it's hard for me to justify spending $50,000 if we're gonna say the battery's out, the 7th Street property is out, this is out, this is out. And then you're like, all right, well, we only have this little bit of development. Are we gonna get 50,000 out of that? Now, and so it doesn't matter recordation or not. That's not even a benchmark.
Yeah, because it's going to be, there's a lot of factors that go in, and that's the challenge.
And I'm not trying to pin you down. I'm just trying to.
And the challenge is, I can't say that it is, I can't say that it isn't.
Yeah.
It depends on, the case specific analysis.
Remember all the stuff about the data center, which of course is not in our jurisdiction, but when the county was trying to impose regulations, they determined that the Project Washington would not fall under any new regulations because they had filed their initial permit request before the legislation passed.
Well, there's legislation out there that says the contrary. I don't want to get into the details, but I'll share it with you. I would say for me, this is about policy, right? And do we think it's a good policy for new development to pay its fair share And do we wanna know? Do we wanna know what the impact is? Do we wanna do the analysis? The company that presented the proposal talked about police and Councilperson Day. I wanna correct myself. I misspoke last meeting when I made reference to police. And I didn't mean, I said salaries or insinuated salaries. That's not what I meant. What I meant was capital improvements associated with police. So body cameras, computers, vehicles, ammunition, those types of things related to policing is eligible. Libraries, general government, et cetera. Thank you.
And this is where, yeah, I know everybody hates the lawyer answer where it's nuanced and the tense, but that is the answer. So the data center was a question of zoning regulations. So zoning regulations are different from impact fees. But even in the context of zoning regulations, there's a lot of nuance. And so anybody who tells you that these things are black and white, here's a firm deadline, it's just not the case. There's a level of risk, and it depends on a lot of factors that go into that analysis.
So we'll readdress that at a later date. I just wanted to mention that as part of that line.
And
Okay,
which line was that? Just so.
special projects.
And this is on page,
Or 15.
oh, yeah.
Or at the bottom.
HR matters. For the advertising, we put 1,000 in. It's just for, we're supposed for new positions. Temporary labor consultant. I'm sorry, temporary labor / consultant, we have 14,000 there. And that is related to our intern. We have funding for this year's upcoming intern. This will be for a future intern for next summer. And then we will be working with our HR consultant to modify the employee handbook. So that's what that is for. That's why there's an increase. Employee trainings for HR, we increased that back to 2,000, which is the same as the amount in 2025. I believe we have to renew a couple of trainings like the anti-sexual harassment training this coming year. So we increased that line. Contract reimbursements, we kept it the same at 3,000. Background investigations, we increased to $850. They were just going to increase this with the companies that we use. And unfortunately, they are the cheapest company, so we have to deal with that. Board of Adjustment, we slightly increased. We've seen a couple more Board of Adjustment issues and applications than previous years, so we just increased that line a little bit. That's a very hard line to budget for because you never know what's gonna happen.
Like, no, right?
Exactly. County sewer, we left that line at the same. Contractual services, building, we put that back to 0, so we actually reduced that line. Totally, that was for the appraisals, which we budgeted for this year FY 26, and we are getting that done. We're on the schedule. I don't know when it's going to get done, but it's done. So we don't need to budget for that again next year. Town hall heat, that was for when we used the town hall on Delaware Street for meetings. We don't use that anymore, so we don't use that line. And then next is capital reserves. So this line has significantly increased. And here we do have two more of the items that we applied for bondal with, and that was for the police department. That is for a mini split and for evidence storage. We also have some building upgrades to the police department. We have carryover from last year for upgrades to the administrative building for security and for the bathrooms. We also added funds in there for paint for the admin building and flooring for the admin building. And then we added money for the trolley barn roof to have a total replacement of the roof, especially if we're gonna have the heaters, which sit on top of the roof, to replace the roof that goes there.
So can I ask a question about that line?
Mhm.
So I'm seeing building repairs and maintenance under PSAF line, like, wouldn't it be more appropriate to move that in there because it's public safety? Like, separate the public safety building maintenance that we're adding there so that we, as we talk about comparing budgets of each department, that we know that we're investing in this department's, out. Like, it would
Certain things
it
are
would
more like a.
help with that delineation.
That would be a
I guess.
capital, building maintenance is more like.
If the doorknob or.
Yeah, something like.
I understand that, but I'm saying like we are,
As opposed to replacing, like the same distinction that's made for your taxes on your house.
Yeah, a roof
Capital
replacement is capital.
improvements versus maintenance.
Mhm.
So the maintenance goes under each department, but the capital improvements, because the city owns the buildings and there are assets and we're improving them. Is that the rationale for making it separate?
fair
Um,
enough.
so again, we really need to focus on making sure that all of our buildings are maintained and, they're safe level.
I would say this, this line item actually affects other line items in regards to energy usage and things of that nature.
Right.
And so, a couple months ago, I mentioned, Energize Delaware and the University of Delaware, electrical engineering, students and professors who came out, it was last week,
That's Wednesday.
and they're gonna finalize the study. But one of their top priority things was the trolley barn and the roof. And as an example, preliminarily, they think that if a certain set of improvements or efficiencies are made, that about 30% energy savings across the board could be realized between trolley barn and police station.
Great.
Which I thought was obviously significant.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
think they said about $20,000
Yeah.
potentially could be saved.
The only question,
Yeah.
that was great, yeah, that makes sense, obviously, kind of like we'd see with fuel and lubricants for, for the new trucks and all that stuff when you're like, goes down maintenance and all that stuff. But I wonder now, to what Councilperson Day mentioned earlier, if we either add here or start looking into quote for the paint for the, barn, so that, we're,
as
as we're talking about this, investment, that is just as probably significant as well, so I'm not trying to add more to our current budget, but.
Yeah, like I said, I have that information. I was just trying to split it up, but I'm happy to add it.
Are you able to share
I don't
Roughly-
remember
no,
off the
roughly,
top.
like, is it-
Oh, it's a couple hundred.
a couple $100?
Thousand.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Couple hundred, so
Yeah,
that's-
I don't remember the exact number off the top of my head, but I can.
You could paint a
present it
word
to you
for
next
that.
time.
Yeah, well, that's-
But that was for brick repointing and.
Oh,
and-
that's for
Yeah,
everything.
it wasn't just paint,
so it would be probably another 200 in here that we would see, if like,
at
Just-
Yeah,
least. At least.
brick reporting is expensive.
Yeah.
Because it's very labor intensive.
Mhm. But I can share that with you next time as well.
okay.
Below that is battery park / porta potties. Thankfully, we have not had to use porta potties, but we still want to keep that line. So we are going to take the porta potty portion out of that title and just make it battery park building. And then that way we have a annual line, for battery park maintenance, now that we have responsibilities of certain portions of it. It's important that we keep that line intact.
Have we seen anywhere in our expenses, like as we have taken over maintaining the restroom and basketball courts, have we seen
Nothing significant.
like something out of ordinary that we haven't already captured otherwise?
No, there's nothing too significant. There have been a few, vandalism issues, which we've cleaned up. A few repairs that we've had to make, which is why you'll see a couple $100, but nothing, thank God.
That's good.
Mhm.
Just curious.
Yeah, absolutely. Insurance, everything but workers' comp only went up by $1,000. And workers' comp, we did, budget a little higher than was actually necessary last year, so the overall, all of the insurance lines decreased a little bit. Professional and contractual services is next. We have the city engineer, which increased slightly by $5,000, to equal 45,000. Obviously, we have a lot of city projects going on and we need their services for those matters. City solicitor, we also increased by 25,000. There are various reasons why we needed to increase that. Of course, we work very closely with our solicitors. There's always something that pops up and we needed to increase that.
I have a
Last year.
question about that. I'm sorry.
Okay, can I just say this? real
Sure.
quick? I'm sorry.
I thought you were moving on.
No. Last year we increased it significantly from the year before because we spent significantly more than the year before. And even 2024 and 23, like it shows that we use our solicitors more. We were just not budgeting appropriately. So this just makes sure that we are trying to budget a little bit more appropriately.
The legal of 500 for each of the various commissions, that's in addition to
In
this, I
addition.
assume.
Yes,
So this is for everything else,
everything else.
basically, whenever one of
And
us.
like munitions, things like that. When we.
But it's primarily your conversations and emails and so forth, but also.
Or research that.
Legislation.
Right, legislation, but if any of us contacts them or has a phone call or an email, ask them to write an ordinance or that, all that gets lumped into this.
Yes, yes. AFSCME and FOP contract negotiations. They have. Neither of those contracts are up next year, so we just budgeted a very small amount, $750 each. And then HR legal, we budgeted $5,000. Hopefully we don't have to touch it, but you never.
So, just had a question about contract negotiations, like, does it make sense to combine those two into one line and just have it steady at?
Yeah,
the
because
amount?
they switch up.
Several
on
years.
No, I understand, but I'm saying, like, for us, it doesn't matter if it's for FOP or ASME, like, as long as we have budgeted amount in there for contract negotiations every year at 3,000, that's it. Like, and it never changes, whatever we figured out is a number that's
But you
needed.
wouldn't know which contract it would be.
No, yeah, but I'm saying, like, they go back and forth, that, I don't know that we.
But what harm does it do to have two separate?
I'm just asking, like, we were just talking about some other efficiency, like we were combining stuff, so just.
I don't think that's where we should.
Okay.
No, it's a total control.
Oh, thank you. I was like, wait, what line am I looking at? Okay, planning commission, development and training, we have that at 500. There was a training that a couple of planning commission members wanted to attend this year, but it filled up really quickly. So we would have sent it, but that's filled up too quickly. Contractual services, we increased that line to 60,000 to account for legal and planning expenses. We do have the solicitor attend every meeting of theirs now, as they need a lot of guidance on, specifically the finances go through, their meetings. The comprehensive plan update, we reduced that to 10,000 to fund the comprehensive plan redemption fund. The additional 4,000 last year was for anything, as related to the comprehensive plan 5-year review, and we didn't use that. So we just kept the 10,000 to fund the fund. Then we have HAC professional development, $500. And then we have the historic preservation grant. We will be putting in, we have 7,000 in as a carryover.
That's the match, right?
That's the match for the grant. So that grant that we are gonna be awarded this year, obviously we won't spend that money, so we'll have to add another 7,000 to carry that over from this year, and then we'll apply for another grant in the coming months and then have that match. We also have a HAC legal line. We discussed this at the mid-year review. We don't separate the legal expenses by the committees currently, so we added that HAC legal line to differentiate. The architect, we just.
That's really 20,000.
Sorry? Legal, yeah.
Because there are, what is it, quasi judicial? So
Basically.
decisions have to be written in a legal format because if the person challenges it.
And they again support the Historic Area Commission at their meetings to make sure that they're staying on target.
So I'm assuming previously it was in our other total.
City solicitor,
So we're increasing it from already 150, now we're adding additional 20.
Yeah,
and
but look at the year before, actually.
Like 180 was the year before,
Yeah.
actual. Yeah, like 150 before that.
Yeah, architect, I just increased by 2,000, to accommodate our city architect. Living security remains the same. Board of Health, we have, professional development at 400. Their supplies, we increased to 600 because they, will be having their health fair in September, and they also want to host a dog park event. And then in the future, for 27 calendar year, the health fair will probably be in the spring instead of in the September of 27. So they next fiscal year they'll have to have two health fairs. Postage for Board of Health, we increased that, and that is for the code enforcement officer for violations as related to health. Meeting security, we increased that slightly to 900. And then the last item for now is accrued benefits at 50,000.
Why is that going up 100% here?
So that is to, is that the one I thought?
That's the fund, if employee is to leave, like we have to pay out for vacation or sick leave.
Over the last 2 years, we decreased it back back.
Mhm.
And we just think it's appropriate to raise it and contribute more to that fund. For the,
It is on the treasurer's report, it is it's 100 and.
May I just make a quick comment or question? A few years ago, when I was on the board of the Newcastle Historical Society, we did some excavation work up around where Fort Casimir was. And, I was surprised the areas are still above water where we did the excavation and had found things. It's my understanding the dog park is going to be in that general vicinity,
No, further out.
further out.
Remember where the recycle bins used to be when we had to drop our stuff off?
Yeah,
There,
okay. Well, I was-
that grassy area.
What I
behind
was
that
leading
little-
up to is that the parking for the dog park could very well accommodate parking that should be created for visitors who want to go visit the 375-year anniversary of Newcastle, 1651. So it would just seem that they could pull that together. Just food for thought. I know Mike Conley would probably be delighted to make a presentation and put stuff in the budget for you to consider, but anyway, that's one of those things that's there if you want to do it. And if you're going to market this little town for what it's worth, 375 years sounds a hell of a lot better than 250 years ago. Especially, you know, when you consider the Swedes and the Dutch and the English and everybody was futzing around back then.
So, the employee redemption fund, we currently have $154,404.10. As of March. So, yeah, just to, continue building it, we would like to. I would like to go over revenues, if you are ready to move on from expenses.
yeah, revenue's done.
Yes. So property tax, we'll talk about it, after we talk about the rest of these revenues. But we don't have anything in there right now because we don't know what our bottom line expenses are. So once we do that, we will have to determine the current tax amount. Tax penalties, we have increased by $5,000 to budget for 30,000 to be received. And past history shows that we have received more than 30,000, so we increased that line. Property tax transfers, we have, as you know, received a significant amount this year, over $1 million in property tax transfers. We were very conservative with our budget for this. We only increased it by 50,000 to have a total of 500,000. That is because this year we had a large property sale, 2 large properties sell, and that's not the typical norm. We were obviously very high value properties. I don't think that we should aim for $1 million, but I think a slight increase is warranted. Delinquent tax collection, we increased that slightly to 27,000. Again, just following some trends over the past couple of years. We've been quite aggressive with making sure that we're collecting. So we have increased that. Business licenses, we left at 135,000. Rental licenses, we dropped to 50,000. Just because we received slightly less than we budgeted this current year. Building and hack applications, we increased to 250,000 as we've seen increases in those applications. Building department penalties, we just left at $1,000. Vacant building registration fees, we increased to 7,500. And we can talk about that more as time goes on. There is pending legislation on the next the next council agenda that might affect that. Code violation penalties, we left at 25,000. We are obviously going into the summer, so we're hoping that the actual for FY26 will increase. And get us closer to the budget. So we have to do the same for next year. Code enforcement cost reimbursements. We left that at 2,000, and that ties back to that line that we talked about at the very beginning for big fund side. Special trash, we just increased that slightly. State courts, we left the same at 30,000. We haven't hit that in the past couple of years, 30,000, but you never know. We're close enough, so I figured we'd just keep it the same. Towing and storage fees, we're pretty on par for 15,000, so I kept it at that.
I'm sorry, towing and storage, we tow people's cars and stuff?
Yes. If they're parked in a fire lane, if there's no parking and we need to access an area, especially if there's construction work, we'll have to tow them, yeah. Impact fees Riverbend, we increased to 75,000 just because we know again that there is continuing
And
development.
that's why it jumped so much this year, the actuals, from
Correct.
63 to 174.
Also, this is the new number.
From 40
There
to
you go.
174. Oh, sorry, the actuals, yes.
Yeah, the actuals went.
Yeah, because we received a lot more applications.
Cause they're building, yeah,
For building.
more permits.
Yeah, and we know that they're probably gonna continue on that trend. Accident reports, we kept at 5,000. Engineering and planning and development reimbursement, we increased slightly to 7,500. It's been more than the budgeted amount over the past couple of years, so we increased that. Zoning and board of adjustment hearings. Again, we never know. We've been budgeting for 4,000, so that's what we have kept. Franchise fees, we did decrease the budget line for that, just because we know, we talked about it last budget year, people are, not using cable and internet, or cable, definitely internet. So we expect less. CCATT, Verizon, we kept the same because we contract with them. Trustees appropriations, we kept it the same for the GO bonds at 225,000. MSC has advised us that their anticipated contribution to us will be 830,916, which is a great increase from last year. That's exciting. Rivertown Ride and Festival, we don't fund that anymore, so that is at 0 again. Interest, we kept it at 150,000 for this coming year. But we will have to, see what we do with the different accounts and stuff to see what the actual will be. But I think keeping it at 150 is fine for now. Miscellaneous income general fund, we increased that just because we've received more in the past couple of years than previously budgeted for. proceeds and sale of assets, we have it at 1,500. Restricted fund balance carry forward is the items that we previously discussed, so. Okay,
Sorry, can you say it again? Sorry, this was
yeah, that will,
like, what would be part of that?
yes,
I'm
so
really sorry.
it would be the dog park,
Okay.
the park games, the trash truck if we don't purchase it this year.
It's the restricted fund balance carry forward 361, the dog park games, trash.
So previously allocated but not yet spent.
Right, the dog park parking lot, the sea level rise engineering, that big chunk of money. Building improvements to the city administration building and the historic preservation grant. And then, we just talked about adding the employee retention carryover as carryover, so that will add 10,000 to that line overall.
Thank you.
We're gonna ask something, Jeff.
When is the trustee appropriations? When are they done paying for the street?
Is there-
Gotta be close,
I
right?
think about 2 years.
I think it's 28.
28.
Hold on, let me pull up a statement.
Did you have something, Jeff?
I was just saying, I think it's about 2
Okay.
years. The restricted fund balance carry forward, so the matching grants portion that wouldn't go into
No,
that?
because we talked about, we talked about it this fiscal year, but we did not allocate any
Okay.
money.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And as discussed previously, like I've applied for plenty of other grants to hopefully
Yes,
match
yeah.
that. So hopefully we won't have to use it, but I think because we've already said we would definitely want to do those projects and obligate for those projects, we should.
We're not on the same budget cycle as they are, though.
They're
So within-
April to April, right?
Yeah, so, yeah, cause I mean, as a, you know, all the nonprofits have to ask for their money before this, for the trustees. My only point is, if we're gonna ask them for money for next year, you know what I mean, we need to have it lined up and done and say, and us agree on what we're gonna ask for, right?
Wait, I'm sorry, I'm confused. You talking about for this a trustee's appropriation line?
Mhm.
So that line is a wash, that's part of the Delaware Street agreement?
Mhm.
So that's what that just 220.
Yeah, I'm just saying, though, that they've always said, we've always got appropriations.
Mhm.
When they get done paying for Delaware Street,
Oh, what are
we could ask for a yearly contribution or pay for another project.
Yes.
But it is something probably within the next 6 months, we're gonna have to figure out, you know what I mean, and ask for.
Yeah.
I don't think they would say no,
I think they'll be
continue
open
the
to
same
that.
around,
Threshold.
same appropriations, but we need to make it a priority to,
Yeah, like,
before we get it into their budget.
I think
next
that's great.
year.
I think we should have those conversations soon. And potentially conversation there is for that same line to be funding capital funds so that, you know, because it's the same type of line that will be,
Yeah,
whatever's top of our priority would be identified in a 5-year plan and, you know,
yeah,
they're helping fund some of those projects that help trustees
yeah.
evaluation as well of, you know, investment in the city and stuff.
Yeah, I would say, again, thank you, Councilperson Day, for thinking about that. Chronologically, it seems maybe like a, mid-year budget, threshold might be a
Yeah.
good litmus test to kind of come prepared with ideas or concepts to talk through.
Yeah, I don't even know if, like, honestly, if we go with capital, I think we can start approaching them this fall. You know, like, and start having council president and
Mhm.
somebody else and city administrator and go start a meeting, because I don't know when their fiscal year starts and ends, but sooner they know, probably.
Yeah.
Sooner they can
And
start.
they may
thinking about it.
wanna have some say in what they're funding too.
Right.
I mean, we may offer them a menu of items or something like that, but.
Yeah, no, but thank you for pointing that out.
And we should, right, like,
Prioritize.
in that plan, we should have like 5-10 year worth of priorities that
Yeah.
you could say this is aligning with what we would like to see as well, so.
And then the last two items are the police pension supplement. We increased that to 120,000. That's all about when you'll actually get the checks. So we're hoping that we get all of them this.
Why is it jumping so much?
It's not, we just don't get the checks on a consistent basis. Like sometimes they'll delay the checks.
We got them from the state, right?
Yeah, but so they're supposed to hit, we're supposed to get, I think, in December and June. But if you look 25.
The extra.
Oh, I
And
see.
then 24, we got like 3 payments because if they don't give it to us by June, we can't backdate it. So they send it to us in July.
So that's
then
why
it's
some
extra.
years were less than
Yeah.
projected and other years were more, so the state pays erratically.
And then it's also, I don't know what their formula is, but it's based on like our officers' pay, pension. It's like a formula that goes into how much we get.
And is that 120 on expense side as well, like under DSAP or no?
Well, I mean, we pay out the employee's pension, so, but they don't cover the,
Not directly, yeah.
yeah, they don't cover the full amount.
And then the pay job reimbursement increased to 95,000.
It's a lot.
Oh, okay, sorry.
What pay job reimbursement?
Yeah, that one is the.
103,500, and it's a lot. That adds up from the police side and public works side, to get that number.
Oh, okay. Thank you, guys.
Just to point out the unreserved fund balance carry forward. We did not use last year, and that is the money to potentially be used from reserves to fund the budget. We did not use that last year. We funded the budget strictly with revenue, new revenue. So we don't have anything on that line. We'll have to have future discussions about tax revenue and we're.
And the 800,000 from the big unanticipated transfer tax and so.
No,
Comments?
yes. Yes. Mhm. You see that zero last year.
Oh, yes, yes.
Oh, so that is the budget presentation. We want to talk taxes, we need a break.
There's more.
Are we having an executive session afterwards?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, because it said we might.
Well, we need everything, well.
So I just have one last slide. If you can go to the second to last slide, please.
Second to last.
Is it this?
It's in your budget presentation, PowerPoint presentation. And we just looked at the current, assessment values. There are some changes to it. Obviously, because we now have some county appeal information, we have our, senior citizen and disability tax exemptions. So we have some of that information. So the assessed values have changed from last year. And then we have, the current tax rate. So we looked at what the current tax rate is and how much tax revenue it would bring, just based on that value from last year. And then we looked at, reducing the tax burden on the residents. It's currently 52%. We reduced it to 40%. And then we shifted the tax burden to the commercial, industrial and utility, zoned properties, to 60%. And, we did that because we now have the opportunity to have the differential tax rate. So with that being said, this is not a hard number for a tax rate because again, we don't know how much we're going to need. But we looked at a potential tax rate of 0.27 per 100 for residential and 0.44 per 100 for commercial to bring in the same value as last year's.
Is the 40/60, is that what it was before reassessment?
Yes.
That's what I
That's
thought.
what I was gonna ask, same ratio.
But prior assessment, that was probably because it was the same rate for everybody, there was the value ratio as well. But now the value is 50 to residential, like higher.
Yeah, so it's.
So like the value has changed. That residential now is more, of our property tax base than it was before. So I guess just wanted to mention that as well.
Yes,
Mhm.
but we looked at what the previous burden was to come up with that. We can look at it in another way. That's just how we looked at it for this
Do you
example.
know what the commercial, well, you may not know because other municipalities are probably doing the same thing we're doing. But it's just in terms of making Newcastle attractive to businesses, is this 0.448 comparable to most other surrounding areas and unincorporated areas of the county? Is it higher? Is it lower?
Yeah, I honestly don't know, and I know that some municipalities are still working through that. So I'll have to get my check.
Because we were all given the option
Right,
to do differential. I mean, we had requested it via charter change and then the legislature gave it to everybody.
right.
So I'm sure all city councils are having the same discussion.
On this slide for next time, can we get 25 added? So we can show that 40-60 split?
25.
25.
FY 25.
FY 25. So that we can see that 40-60
Yes,
to.
Oh, yeah, that would be helpful.
I think that would help.
yeah, the difference will be their old.
Assessed value.
That would be fine, but if we can still show the 40-60 situations, I think will help sell the scenario.
Let's have you earn your bucks. So what's the prevailing, I'm sure you guys are contracted by the municipalities and have maybe similar debates. Have you guys had to issue any statements to other folks in a sense of like legally? I know we're allowed to, but like, are there any blind spots here that we should be thinking about as a municipality where commercial owners might say, well, this isn't fair?
No, I mean, the short answer is we haven't been asked that question. So this is obviously uncharted territory for everybody, but that discussion and that debate as to whether differential tax rates are constitutional has been litigated. Delaware Supreme Court has weighed in and said that you can have, as long as if you're a municipality, as long as the General Assembly gives you that authority, which has happened, that authority, that law is constitutional. That has been upheld.
No, I understand that, but like, it's almost like, example of impact fees, not to go back, but like, almost like we need to have a rationale why we're saying 60-40 or whatever split, where whatever tax rate we end up setting. It almost needs to be backed in some sort of research of how do we come up with that? Like,
Because-
we're providing more services over to commercial or something, like, because like, from that perspective, it kind of seems very arbitrary for us to just say whatever 100% and zero. Like it's just like, I
Right,
guess,
so
like,
the threshold is different. So when you are dealing with, and this is, I appreciate the question because I teased this up first perfectly. Impact fees have to be aligned with capital. Regular fees have to be aligned with services. Taxes have to be aligned, it's a legislative policy. So the threshold in terms of what justifies a tax, a revenue generating measure is different from those other two buckets, and it's a lower bar. It's a, what is in the best interest of the public in raising the revenues. And so it's a legislative decision is viewed at a lower bar because again, you're acting in the best interest of the public. Now, that doesn't mean that you can say, great, so we're just gonna tax.
I'm just
the
playing devil's
commercial,
advocate,
but-
yeah, because I was here screaming last year, like, and maybe everybody was still like, all of a sudden, our residents are picking up tax bill that we're giving it. Not giving, but almost like a tax cut to commercial properties around because that's how the reassessment played out. And that's, keeping the same rate, ended up meaning that, right? So like, that was the reality, that still is reality currently if nothing changes. But I did, from constitutional side, I'm like having trouble not justifying. Obviously justifying it is easy in a sense, like our residents should have easier time paying taxes, like, but I'm trying to think about it logically, pragmatically, like from services side, how to justify it, I guess.
And that's where it becomes, it moves, when you're dealing with a legislative question, it moves from the legal to the policy. And you are all elected from a policy. And in the eyes of the law, the theory is this: if the residents don't like it, they can exercise their voice at the ballot box, right? And so just as any other ordinance that you debate, you discuss the pros and cons and you make a policy decision. That's when you're dealing with where you set that commercial versus residential rate, it's a policy decision that you're making.
And I think that, why 60-40? Because that's what the ratio was before reassessment. That's why we picked that.
But that was ratio of property values as well. So
Well, yeah,
now
but
it's
it
different.
resulted in the ratio of tax payments. And so we're trying to keep the ratio of tax payments the same as it was before the reassessment, since the reassessment hit residential properties harder than it hit commercial properties. So we're trying to kind of redress that balance.
Mhm.
That's our rationale as far as I'm concerned.
And I will tell you, we got caught on the carpet, by a few business owners, Harvey Hanna, 326 Associates, the trustees about this, hey, why are you doing this? And I do think we made it clear that, it was a historic number that we had to raise taxes. I think they expect this at this point because we flat out told them we needed to do something. And I think from a policy standpoint, what you look at is the floor raised up higher than the ceiling. So the lowest income people in Newcastle got hit the hardest,
Absolutely.
which, I think we have a duty to do whatever we can to mitigate that.
Right.
But it was clear, when you seen the percentages of some of the neighborhoods were much higher.
Yes.
And it's hard to justify doing that and giving commercial and industrial users a break on their taxes. And that's at least my thoughts on
You
it.
didn't sit well with me last year, that was with me.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
so, yeah. Yeah, especially neighborhood analysis was, stark.
Yeah.
Like, just like from what people were paying, what they're paying now, for sure.
Yep. Don't get me wrong, I still think a lot of it's a bargain, but you do this incrementally and, I think it's much easier.
Yeah, all these are great conversations. I think this was a great productive meeting. Obviously, we have some data that's missing. Part of our craft, my prism is, okay, what's the 26 to 27 budget increase, right? And then that becomes a new watermark and then projecting that forward, right? Because, for example, we could say, shift it 12% one way or another in this fiscal year, right? But then if the next year's budget increases by $1 million, in the example, if we don't quote unquote raise property taxes, then it even becomes a bigger whammy.
In my
As an
assumption,
example.
my assumption, I don't know, obviously, this is just me, would be we preserve 40-60 going forward. Whenever we increase the rate, just the rates would be adjusted to be reflective of 40-60 revenue split.
And I think you have to, reset your mind frame of when we set the budget, when we set the tax rate. Like, I think it needs to be an annual thing. I don't think you can have this continued 15-year tax rate. Every year, you're gonna have to say, okay, does the tax rate need to go up 1%, 2%, 0.5%, whatever it is? I think that's gonna be going forward how it should be. We can't just stay stagnant.
Just to sort of slide into the last item on the agenda, which is that $800,000 windfall of transfer tax. If we can utilize that to not have to raise taxes this year, we're not committing that we're never going to raise taxes, not going to raise them next year, but it was a whammy for people last year. And so this would at least kind of give them some breathing room. And if we don't need to use all of that to do it, fine, then we can put that into some of our funds or use it to fund a special project. If we don't get much municipal street aid or bond bill money for street repair, there's many things we could find to use that money for and parcel it out perhaps. But I don't see that 800,000 reflected anywhere in here, and it's kind of in limbo. It's kind of in limbo at this point for us to see where it might fit in and how it would affect what we have, what kind of a tax rate we need to do. This would actually, as you project it now, would be a lowering of taxes for the residential.
Right.
Yeah.
And, right.
We're gonna be the only, I won't say how to say this diplomatically. We're probably gonna be the only rate car residents this year. I don't think anybody else is gonna not raise county or school or whatever at the time. So I think it's kind of like we are the only place that can help.
Well, the county's already said they're,
Yeah.
the executive county, I think proposed an increase.
Yeah, but again, I don't think we should fall back into that. I think we should continue with reevaluating the taxes
every year.
And then every year, right? And then for that, additional surplus revenue that we got for the transfer tax, I do think we should put it towards a special project. I think if we don't get bond bill, for streets, which we did not get last year, I think we should have a conversation about using that.
Yeah, I mean, that's why we're trying to be proactive with, having that interest being higher in the different accounts and talking to trustees to have some of these things offset what we're not getting from the state. We can offset that increase every year, but there's still, we all see our budget every year increasing, cost of living, salaries, or contracts are increasing every year. Like nothing's really staying the same. So like just that alone, yeah, we're gonna try to pay it off of the interest. Right, so, but that's just gonna reduce that, I think, what you're trying to say, like, there's still gonna be some small percentage that you need to raise to make that work, so you're not always, dipping in somewhere.
But it's much easier for people if their tax goes up 0.5% this
Oh,
year
yeah,
and a
yeah.
percent next year
Yeah.
than to have it jump
For sure.
35. Right.
Yeah, I think that was a
3%.
comment about not doing that every 15 years.
Right.
I mean, and then I'll add to that, like, I was doing some analysis myself, trying to prepare myself where we are, because I looked at a budget and like, there was a lot of blank lines. So I was like adding up, so what I did was I added up all for public services, for vehicles, for finance, HR and admin stuff that's blank right now. I used FY 26 numbers, because I'm like, without increase, let me see what this is. So I added that to this expenses that we have right now, and that ends up being 8.37 million, roughly. And then I added revenues that we were just shown, and added a property tax from last year with no changes. And that's 7.768 million, which puts us at about $600,000 gap currently without any changes in these negotiations that we're part of. So that's kind of your $800,000
Yeah, if we
question.
put 600 to that, we have 200,000 left. We could do some significant street work.
Well, I guess what I'm trying to say is this $600,000 doesn't include any increase. This is just carrying forward
Well,
salary
yes,
from FY 26.
and we know that salaries are gonna increase.
So I don't know if we have $200,000 to
No,
spare
no, we
in the
did
end,
not.
but I just wanted to paint that picture of what this ends up being next meeting when we meet, probably, and maybe more than that. So
Do you have an idea at this point when the contract negotiations may be finalized?
I don't have a pinpoint date. I'm hoping that if we schedule a meeting for 2 weeks from now, that I could have some better idea.
Is there sticking points?
No, I just,
Okay,
I mean, I see that you've scheduled a potential executive session after next week's regular council meeting. Is that for the contract? Potential. I mean, just to kind of get an idea of when we might get the final numbers.
yeah, but this is, I wanted to mention this just because with nothing changing, we're still $600,000, like
Right.
would have to dip into, unrestricted, so.
Anything else? Is there anyone still hanging out there on Zoom?
Wait a minute, I hit something I shouldn't have hit. Hold on. What did I hit?
go back to the Zoom.
There it is. That was
Go back
weird.
to- back to the-
She has to stop the screen share, doesn't she, to see the people?
Let's see.
Yeah, you would have, if you want to see them, you have to stop sharing the red.
I can just stop them.
Do you want me to stop the share?
It doesn't matter.
All right. There we go. Looks like we have one person still.
So the question is, does the one person still watching on Zoom have any comments?
They're muted right now.
Was that you or was it?
That's that.
I guess we don't have them.
Yeah, the one person is muted.
Okay. That was all I have for today.
All right, is there anything else? Does anybody else?
Next meeting?
Next meeting, I will email you. I don't, have the date locked down yet. So I will let you know as soon as possible.
Not next week?
No, not next week.
Thank you.
So are you going to just pick from the dates we gave you? You gave us a list and we said yes, no to all the dates. So you're gonna work with the dates with the yeses and we'll start from there.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll reach out with some dates. If not tomorrow, then Thursday.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
We'll move.
A second?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Good night, all.
Good night.
Okay.